Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I'm very excited for today because we have some
Me
fun
too.
things. We have some fun things in store for today, story wise. Just a kind of a precursor. Spoopy's not going to be joining us today. He passed his boards, so he's out celebrating that amazing accomplishment. If you want to go give him some love on Twitter, that would be super cool and sexy of you. I believe I have his Twitter on the pals thing. I think I do. Yeah, I do. So if you want to go give him some love on Twitter, that would be so cool. But
We
yeah,
love supporting our friends.
yes, we do.
Yes.
So a very quick recap from last time because we had some shenanigans go down. Everyone sort of got acquainted with the Seahawk and this sort of daunting quest that lays before you. And we met some interesting characters from the first time, and the second episode we got to know them a little bit more. And I think the most significant thing that happened is a little bit hard to forget. An attack on the Seahawk by a horde of goblins and led by a hobgoblin captain. They were very vicious, very feral. We had some very entertaining, creative combat solutions for taking care of them. Um, Rest in peace, Kelly Clarkson, the goblin who would not give up. Um, but yes, so we are picking up right after that big attack where our party has part of our party has been flung from the deck of the Seahawk. If you'll recall last time, Renori was able to blast a hole in the hull of the big pirate ship, and that was kind of bearing down on you. That was originally carrying some of these goblins, and it instead of going forward, it is now going down. And on the topmost deck, a hobgoblin pirate is sort of watching all of this unfold. And you had goblins that are not you can't really crawl through water, but clawing through the water, clinging to one another, kind of like fire ants clinging to each other to float through water, um, trying to scrabble up the side of the ship. Renori and Raven were flung from the deck as the ship sort of tilted. Tide and Faustus managed to grab on before going over, but unfortunately, our lovely ladies have been thrown into the sea. And that is kind of where we're picking up right now, with this horde of goblins sort of clawing over one another, trying to scramble up and latch on to the side of the ship, sort of forming like a bridge, like they're climbing up on each other. Renori and Raven, you're watching this happen. This is happening right beside you. Faustus, this is happening sort of under you because you were able to grab the railing before you went over. So we are not currently in combat. None of the goblins have their specific attentions on you to attack you. It seems like their sole priority is getting up onto the Seahawk. But yes, we're gonna. That's where we're gonna pick up. So
Yeah, so right as we ended, didn't Raven and I get water step or something?
that is right.
Mm-hmm.
Water walking and water breathing,
Yes,
both.
you got both of those.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right. So you, Raven and Renori, you feel like a sort of pressure like envelop your bottom halves, and you are ejected not into the air, but sort of out of being submerged in the sea, and your feet come to rest on the surface, and it's like whatever you think standing on a waterbed would feel like, it's like that. So you're now on this
Okay.
sort of turbulent surface that's like moving and shaking. Um, yes, the hobgoblin pirate is still. He's on the upper deck. He's above you, but in terms of distance, he's probably about like 50 feet from you. And
Oh
then you
yeah,
have
that's
this
perfect range for my short bow. With
nice.
the arrow that I pulled out of Tide that I currently have trained on the Hobgoblin Captain.
Hell yeah. All right. You want to roll to hit?
I do want to roll the hit, and what I'd like to do is I'd like to try to have my familiar distract him in order to try to get advantage on the roll. It's the
Okay.
my swoopy swoopy lady friend Lilith.
Yes. We love Lilith.
Sure.
All right, let's see what we get. Oh, that's good. Yes.
What is it?
That is a 20. That's a 21 to hit.
Nice. Okay, so Faustus, you can you go ahead and do me a strength check? Do
Sure.
athletics if it's
Yeah.
any. I don't think it's going to be any better, but I'm pretty sure athletics
Oh,
is
it's not
strength.
going to be any better for me.
Yeah, I
I'm
figured.
trash at anything strength related, but it's still 16.
Okay, so you lock eyes onto this captain who sort of he's chilling. He's just surveying as this is going on, and you lock eyes onto him, and you manage to pull yourself sort of over the railing where you're hanging, so now that you're sort of like your feet and your back is braced against the deck, and like your feet are on the railing, and you're looking at him, and you take aim, and you loose the very same arrow which had been plunged into Tide, and it soars in a very lovely arc across, like Renori and Raven. You can see this like kind of happen. And this arrow arcs and it lodges right into his chest, and he sort of grunts and stumbles back when the impact catches him, and he looks down at it. And Faustus, he looks up at you, and you see, you don't, the sound doesn't quite carry to you, but you see him snarl.
Ooh.
Yes. And we established that none of you know Goblin. Renori and Raven, you hear some nasty sounding words come from this man. And then he takes his sort of, like we had established, he has like a weird sword situation going on. And he taps like the sword against the deck, and it makes this hollow, deep thunk. And the goblins that are in the water start screeching, and you like hear more of this cacophony coming from the back end of the ship, and more goblins scramble out of the ship, but less than this knot that's sort of in the water, but a lot of them, and they are carrying another goblin. She's very small, a lot smaller than the other ones, a lot less feral, less enthusiastic. She's soaking wet. She's like leaving a trail of water behind her as they drag her towards this captain. And he says something very sternly, and she barely has the strength to lift her head, but she does. Renori and Raven, she locks eyes with you two. And the water beneath your feet begins to churn. Can you both make me a dexterity saving throw, please?
Excellent. I'm so good at dex. So good.
I got a
13?
It's gonna be a real cool 11.
Okay. So, Renori Raven, water beneath your feet is shifting, and it's very hard to keep your balance, and the water sort of dips in by your feet, and it plunges up, and it shoves the two of you apart. Raven, you're able to somewhat keep your footing, like you stumble backwards rather than be thrown. Renori, you're a little less lucky. Thankfully, you do have water walk going on, so you don't go under or anything, but you sort of skid across the surface of the waves about like 5 feet away. And this tendril of water that separated the two of you splits in twain, and it looks down at each of you, sort of like a hydra. And you see that face form in the water, like snapping teeth and deep eyes, and it's looking down at the two of you as the water seems to come to life. Faustus, this is kind of happening in your area. There are no heads currently trained on you, but it's in front of you. So can I have the three of you roll initiative, please?
Indeed.
Ooh, excellent.
Wow. It's wildly terrible.
14.
Okay.
12.
All right.
Got a 7. It's the lowest initiative I've rolled in this campaign.
All right. And a 7. Okay, and we're gonna get to roll for the spicy little creatures. Okay.
Great.
This is not looking good so far.
For us or them?
Yes. Okay. So, all right. So you the creature is going to go first. You have
Us,
been
then.
yeah. The Hydra is sort of like snapping and its body is sort of moving in waves. And Raven, the head that is turned to face you, it makes the motion to roar, but no sound comes out. And it peers down at you, and it is going to attempt to fire a bolt of ice at you.
Ooh.
Does a 16 hit you?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Let's see. Alright, so, it opens its mouth, and like I said, there's no sound that comes out, but you recognize the roar, and a chunk of ice, like you see some swirling water in the back of its mouth, or like maw start to solidify, and a chunk of ice just spits out of this mouth, and it flies towards you, and it kind of lodges in your lower abdomen, and you take 2 piercing damage. Actually, no, sorry, 2 cold damage as this piece of ice, like, goes into you. Next up is the head facing Renori. And,
Excellent.
right. It's got its gaze latched onto you, and it's sort of doing this twisting motion, and it's going to attempt to do the same thing to you that it just did to Raven. This is 17.
Question.
Yes.
Jim. So, when a reaction spell, when and how can I use that?
So,
Could I use it now?
yes, you can. So, what's your reaction? Hold on.
Shield. The
Understandable.
spell shield, yeah.
Okay, so can you read me the description?
Yeah, so an invisible barrier of magical force appears and protects you. Until the start of your next turn, you have +5 bonus to AC, including against the triggering attack, and you take no damage from the spell Magic Missile.
Okay. Alright, so you are... Okay. You can kind of like you throw your hands up, and this sort of...
Your fucking hands up.
I'm gonna let you flavor. How do you want your shield to look? I'll let you flavor it.
Yeah, so I'm gonna see what this thing does to Raven and not be interested in that happening to me. And as I see it start to come towards me, I am just going to have my hands together and spread them out in a circle, and sort of like this purplish round shape of glyphs is gonna appear in front of me.
Okay. So you recognize, like you said, you recognize what had just happened to Raven, and you recognize that you are probably not going to be able to get out of the way of this thing. And on instinct, you protect yourself, and this shard of ice, which was definitely locked onto you, disintegrates against the shield that you've just thrown up. Next up is Raven.
I love deciding things. Okay. How far away is the drippy girl?
She's about 50 feet away from you. She's on the top deck of that ship with the captain.
Okay, and then the captain is how far away? The same?
Same.
Okay. I am going to. I think I'm just gonna cast Scorching Ray
Ooh, okay.
at them. At the captain,
At the captain? Okay.
not the wet one.
Okay. So then can you do it's 3, I believe it's 3 attack rolls because you're doing 3 rays of fire.
Mm-hmm.
So
DM, did you want the damage from that arrow attack?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be great.
Let's roll it.
Will a 15 hit?
Give me 1 second. What's the damage, Jake?
Sure.
13.
13. Okay. All right. So we are at. All right. So then to retcon, when this impales him, he looks hurt, but he looks annoyed. Raven. So a 13.
Yeah.
Yes. So 13's gonna hit. Did you roll 3 times?
For all 3 rays?
Yeah, you roll each ray individually.
Okay. Give me a sec. And then a 12.
Okay, 13, a 12, and 1 more.
And then a 19.
All right. Yeah, all 3 of those are gonna hit. You gather these rays of fire within your palms and you launch them at the head that's facing you. 2 of them clock directly into the body, and there's sort of like a hiss of steam as they collide. One of them just barely grazes, like it flies towards the head, and the creature turns its head into your ray. So you got lucky with that one too. And the same thing sort of happens, and it makes no sound, but you see it rear back and sort of like in pain. How much?
16 points of damage.
Nice. Okay. The head facing you looks a little bit smaller.
Baller. Shot caller.
Okay, so next up is gonna be Renori.
Excellent. So I am gonna go ahead at 2nd level, cast Ray of Sickness on the creature in front of me, the head.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they have to do
It's Constitution, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's not gonna do it. That is a solid 2.
Yeah, that sure doesn't do it. So, a ray of sickening greenish energy lashes out towards the creature within range. So let me roll my damage. That is gonna be 12. So I am going to lock on to the head in front of me and jut my arm out, and a sickening, like a disgustingly colored green ray that kind of has like this green smoke coming off of it is going to go and hit the creature. And so it takes the 12, and it is poison damage.
Poison. Okay, sounds good. Okay, so you blast it with this ray, and the water, because this is like it's sort of like a hydra, but it's just got 2 heads instead of multiple. So the head facing you takes on like the sickly green color in the water, and you see that ray that you cast sort of swirling around in there, and it actually sort of veers off at a few points into the head facing Raven, and it's going to take a few extra points of damage. So how much damage total was it again, Renori?
Well,
12. Okay. So it's going to take like 2 points of damage. Not much, but it's something. And you both notice that the heads facing you grow a little smaller. Next up is Faustus.
All right. How far away is this thing from the ship
From the
that
ship,
I'm on currently?
From the ship, it's like 10 feet. Like they're right in front of
Perfect.
the ship. Yeah.
Perfect. In that case, I am going to take at a run, draw the dagger up, and then jump off the side of the ship. So I have a 10 strength. I can move 10 feet with a jump, and I'm just going to jump out and try to dig the dagger just into the side and just drag it down the side of it.
Okay.
And I'm casting Booming Blade as I do so.
All
so
right.
we'll see if I actually hit.
Let's see.
That's 15 to hit.
That hits. All right. So you
That is a total of 25 damage.
Wow. Okay. So the heads of this thing are facing opposite ways, so we're gonna say you plunge the dagger into the head facing Raven. So you leap and you get the dagger in, and it's not pleasant because this thing is very clearly made of water, but it has all the give of flesh. As your weight drags you down with the blade down this thing, and you split it in half.
Whee!
And the water sort of at some point just goes dead and falls back into the ocean, and now there's just one snake-like head, and Faustus, it turns its gaze towards you. This is the one that Renori poisoned, so it is like a gross kind of green. Can everybody
look up and I say, "You're next."
Nice. Can everybody roll me initiative again?
Yes.
sure can.
Raven is also green right now from what just happened in front of her.
Nice.
17.
A 19? Or 17?
17.
17. Okay.
11.
Nice. Okay. Faustus?
21
All right. That's a good one.
redeems
And-
that 7 from last round.
Sure does.
And at the end of my last turn, I would have had the familiar fly in to do the help action, swoop past the other water hydra head, and then go back up into the night sky.
Okay. It is actually morning at this point.
Morning. Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to reestablish what time. So this is all happening just after your the last session when you guys were going around kind of investigating voices and such.
Right.
This is after that investigation. So
Good morning.
it is like it's not necessarily early morning, but we're solidly in morning time and the sun's out. Okay, so first up is Faustus.
All right. I'm gonna step to the next one and give him a little the same medicine I gave the other one. Hopefully.
Let's see.
I love rolling lots of dice. That is an 18 to hit.
That hits.
16, 19, 24 damage.
All right. You are you stabbing it with the blade again?
I am doing a stabby stab with a booming blade once again.
All right. So you stabby stab. And the creature rears its head back kind of like a one of those noodle guys outside of a car dealership. It just kind of flops backwards. And you see a lot of the water slough off of its form, and it kind of comes back to look at you, and it does not look good. It looks more like a sock puppet than it does any sort of intimidating creature right now. Definitely on
bonus action
last legs.
Disengage and step away from him.
Okay.
And because I used Booming Blade, if it uses movement, it takes another D8 of damage. But it probably doesn't have to move because it's got ice spikes and whatnot.
Yeah. Plus it's not that smart. Okay, so next up is Raven.
Okay. So for clarification, the creature is haggard and like on its last legs.
Correct.
Okay. And the captain and the wet goblin are like still on board on the ship.
Yes. So, 50 feet away from you is this ship, which is still continuously sinking, by the way. And on the uppermost deck is the captain, and right beside him is this dripping goblin girl that's being like sort of held. It looks like kind of how you would hold a prisoner, but she doesn't really have the energy to look intimidating, so they're kind of just holding her upright more than they're holding her back, by this captain's side. And then right in front of you is this creature, the sort of water. It's not a proper water dragon, but it's a like a hydra sort of appearance out of water, but it doesn't look too good right now.
Okay. I'm gonna just Eldritch Blast this Hydra creature for Nat 1, baby.
Oof.
Great.
Um,
So I missed.
you sort of try to draw it on your inner energies, but the pain from the spike that's like it's melting, but it hurts, and some of the water and blood is kind of mingling, and it's distracting. Um, do you want to do anything else with your turn?
I think that I want to try. Well, let's see if this goes well. Is there like any way I could try to get back on the boat by like climbing it, like our ship?
Yeah. So the boat's within this creature is about like you're like 10 feet from the ship. So you could walk up to the ship and you can attempt to climb up the side if you'd like. Faustus is on board. The ship is like currently at an angle. Not necessarily sinking, it's just kind of sitting at an uncomfortable angle but still floating, and Faustus is like perched on the railing. You can attempt to climb up if you'd like. It's within your range.
Yeah, because I think I want to have Raven try to get a better view of like the captain and everyone on the ship.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and roll me athletics.
So good those. Oh, it's a nat 20.
Let's go.
Oh my God, it's a
I
21.
love that for you.
Radical.
Yes. Okay. Raven, you make a like a sort of beeline for your ship, and steel yourself, and you hoist yourself up, and scramble up, and kind of are perching on the railing next to. Think like if you're shuffling along a cliff with like your back to the cliff. That's sort of how you're standing on the ship right now, with your back to the deck and your feet on the railing, and you're right next to Faustus. Next up is there's only one option. It's actually no, there's two options. It's the Hydra. So with Raven kind of past it, Renori, it swivels its gaze to focus on you.
Sick. It is sick.
It's going to, with its sort of last dregs of energy, attempt to hit you with an ice spike again. Does a 16 hit you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You see it. It's sort of shuddering in place, and water's like sloughing off of it in places. But it manages to do sort of like a mock inhale and fire a spike at you, and it lodges into your leg, and you take 3 cold damage.
Excellent.
All right. So next up, Renori, is you.
Okay, so am I able to try and climb onto the ship?
You can, yes, if you'd like to.
Am I close enough?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try and follow that lead.
Can you do athletics for me?
Hell yeah.
Athletics. Nice. Okay. So that was a natural 20, but -1 is a 19.
I love that. Okay, so you do the same thing that Raven was able to do. You lock your sights onto the ship. It is going to attempt to make an attack of opportunity against you. It's not probably going to go well. It does not.
Yes.
It attempts to bite at you, but its maw kind of like smashes into the little the sort of surface of the sea, and then just pulls its head back and sort of shakes itself off, and you're able to get past it to the ship and climb up. Your foot slips like a little bit, but you make it up. And the three of you are now standing and facing this thing. And now that you've gotten past it, it turns off, but like not the easy way where you think it would turn this way to face you. It turns all the way around to face the three of you now with your backs up against this ship. Right. So one more. Roll me initiative, please.
3.
3. All right.
Yeah.
20.
Nice. Faustus?
Yeah, I also have 20.
Whose dex is higher? Faustus, right?
Yeah, who do
Plus
you
5,
think?
yeah.
Yeah, I just had to ask. I have to ask. I'm never
And
gonna remember.
little wizard.
Hey, it's my bag, you know?
That's true.
I'm limber.
This thing got. This is good. Oh my god! This also got a 20.
Shit.
Faustus is still first.
I was gonna say, is its dex higher than mine, though?
Renori, what's your dex?
It's 0.
Cool.
Well, I mean, it's 11 total, but it's plus 0.
Okay, yeah, you're still gonna go first, like before it.
Oh,
So you're good.
okay.
It's not well built at all. Okay, so Faustus, you're probably gonna kill it, but let's see.
Yeah, so they're both back on the ship now, right? So I'm by myself on the water with this fella.
Yeah, I forgot you landed on the surface of the sea. Yeah, so you're standing on the surface of the sea because you did your leaping strike thing.
Love it.
Yeah. And
Do
the
it.
two of them are behind you.
This is a booming blade attack. That is a 12 to hit
That just hits, yeah.
for 17 damage.
Yep. Okay. You bring your blade back and drive it into the creature, and it explodes in a shower of moisture. Raven, Renori, and Faustus, you are drenched with seawater as this thing disintegrates.
Faustus just tilts his head and looks down at it and says, "Told you were next."
Nice. And you hear some not happy goblin yelling coming from the ship. And the goblins that are holding this goblin girl, they sort of pile together and like worm under one another to raise her up to the height of the captain. And he looks down at her and like forces her head up to look at him and says something harsh. Not harsh necessarily, meaning you don't know what he's saying, but in terms of sound, harsh and final. And she makes this just sort of like a weak motion, and he scoffs, barks something in goblin, and the goblins throw her overboard. You see her frail body kind of flying in an arc past the goblin pirate and down towards you, and she plummets into the waves, and she does not come back up.
Could
Can I walk over to where she went?
do I
and crouch and just
do I
stick a
have
hand
the
down into the
ability to cast
water?
Wait, what were you saying, Sierra? You're like cutting out for me.
I wanted to cast water breathing for her.
Okay, let's do one thing at a time. Faustus, you are able to walk over where she plummeted in. She's sinking very quickly. You can roll me sleight of hand.
Yeah. I'm really good at that. Let's see. Big money, no whammies. Oh, that's a good roll.
Ooh.
That is a 23 total.
Nice. Okay. You manage to grab something that is not water. And as you start pulling up, you see you've grabbed the end of a chain and she is attached to it. By her throat. You're not, let me clarify, you're not like choking her. She has a collar
Perfect,
on.
perfect. I wrap the chain around my hands and I'm just kidding.
God, no. You're able to hoist her up towards a better like grasp. Raven, don't worry about the water breathing. Save your spell slot.
Okay.
You're able to pull her out of the wave. She's probably like half your size. Looks pretty much the same as all the other goblins you've encountered so far. She's got like sort of straw blonde hair that's clinging to her face and these two large eyes that on the other goblins was kind of like bug-like and a little gross, but on her, though weak, they're sort of endearing. And she's wearing what appears to be a potato sack with like little leg holes cut in it. And she looks at you, but she doesn't appear to have the strength to speak at the moment. But her eyes are sort of wild and desperate. The hobgoblin captain raises his sword once he sees you've retrieved her and snarls something. And the goblins that were attempting to kind of scramble up onto the Seahawk turn towards you, Faustus. All like 10 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's now 10 goblins with their attention solely on you.
Get some.
Renori and Raven, you're like over here.
I can walk on water, bitches. Come get me.
They cannot do that. Renori and Raven,
I can move 90 feet around.
And they are over here, so you're about like a little less than 10 feet between between their knot of, and yeah. So you're able to see this happening very well.
Yeah, so is it my go? Can I do something?
You may do, anybody can do anything. We're not technically right now in combat.
Gotcha. Okay, so I'm gonna look. Oh, what choice do I want to make? Mr. Up Top, is he within 120 feet of me?
He sure is.
I'm gonna cast Magic Missile at 2nd level at him.
Ooh, okay.
So I just hit, yeah, because it doesn't say that there's any save throw or anything.
Yep.
Alright.
Magic Missile is the best.
Yeah, it sure is. So let's see. How many do I roll? Okay, so let's do math. So I hit him with a total of 9 points of damage.
Okay. You gather, how many bolts is it at 2nd level?
3.
3?
3.
Okay, so
second 4, is it not? Because you cast it at 2nd, right?
I did.
First, it's extra. It's an additional.
Oh, okay. So one more.
Okay, go ahead and tell me what that
is 12 points of damage.
Nice. Okay. You gather 3 bolts of energy, and then you're like, wait, and you add a 4th. And you sort of concentrate your bolts and launch them at the captain, and they twirl as they fly through the air and hit him in the abdomen just below where he's been struck with the arrow, which he has not pulled out. It is still in him. And he stumbles back from that, and you see like he has a sort of like a leather breastplate. Actually, no, it is not leather. It looks to be some sort of metal that's very dark, like a near black color. But apparently it's not well made because your magic missiles pass through it. And you see that there's like a smoldering hole in it. And he like leans on the sword to catch his footing. And he looks up at the 3 the three of you plus everything that's sort of happening right now. The ship has pretty much almost sunk. It's a matter of moments before this entire thing goes below. Um, Before anything else happens, though, he manages to get to a standing position, and like he doesn't necessarily sheath his sword, but sort of place it more behind him, like to help him stand up a little bit better. And in very rough, grating common, he's like, "Where's your captain?" And like sort of out of character, he sounds Australian. I cannot do an Australian accent, but he's Australian.
Where's your captain, mate?
I'm not doing it. I will
Oh
have
my god.
the entire continent.
Commissioner.
All of Australia is going to try to kill me, so I'm not going to attempt it. But just know in your hearts that this is the truth.
Crikey.
Why did Jake, Here's Your Captain, sound like the PBS Kids brothers that like did wild
I know
like
exactly
animal
what you're
stuff?
about.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what Wildcrats. I think
Anyway.
that's what it was.
What?
Yes.
I don't know. But that's what
Okay.
it reminded me of for no reason. I don't even think they're Australian.
As he yells at us, I'm gonna just yell back and be like, "What does it matter? Why do you need to know who our captain is? What do you want?"
I
don't have a captain. I look at Ravens.
He sort of coughs, but he tries to hide it, and he's like, I know who your captain is. I just want to speak to him.
I said I don't have a captain, bitch.
Then
Be more
obvious.
specific.
I wasn't speaking to you. You, the purple one, authoritative.
Have Eldritch Blast at him.
Yes, you can.
Yes.
Okay.
Is he talking to you? How?
Raven does not want to talk to this motherfucker. She's just like, she's like bleeding out of her limbs. She's just like very upset.
That is not what the blood's
17?
supposed to be. A 17? Yeah, that's gonna hit him. So your Eldritch Blast collides with him. How much damage does it do?
It's 3 points of damage to him.
How much is it?
3.
Okay. You hit him right where Renori had hit him, and he stumbles back again. Doesn't look very happy about it.
Out of curiosity, did you say this ship is like sinking, right?
Sinking.
It's getting pretty sink. How close would you say the deck is to the water?
You could, if you wanted to, you could be up there.
Could one do like sort of a Jack Sparrow-esque, just walking onto the ship as it's like coming level?
One certainly could.
I would like to just sort of march in that direction with the dagger, and if I, to the extent that I can, I'm going to try to just walk up to him and just stick the dagger just right into his chest.
Can you
as soon as that becomes an option.
Can you roll to hit?
Yeah, I can roll the hit. Oh, that sucked. That was so close to being good. That is only a 13 to hit.
It's not gonna do it.
No.
You can stroll up to him though. You start a marching. And you get up to him and you attempt to do your classic little I'm just gonna have you hold this for me.
Just gonna slide this in there.
But it doesn't go in. So you just kind of got the point of your blade against like this breastplate, and he's looking down at it and you're looking down at it, and then you both beat your eyes. He's gonna attempt to headbutt you.
Bring it
Were
on.
you trying to do that?
That's a nat 20.
That was on purpose, right?
This man.
What's that to hit?
It's a 20 to hit.
Oh yeah, that'll hit.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
You both look down at the blade and you look up at each other, and he smashes his head into yours, and you take 1 bludgeoning damage as what feels like a steel ball collides with your skull.
If I use Uncanny Dodge as a reaction, and it halves the damage to half.
I usually round Like, it's not going to do anything at that point.
Okay, all right,
We're going to say you managed to
fair enough.
move
Raven,
your head back.
Raven, Raven sees him do this to Faustus, looks at it, looks at the captain, and is just like, actually, I'm sorry I cast that spell on you.
Oh.
Take it back.
He looks at you.
Anyway.
He looks at you kind of emptily, Raven. Yeah, he just sort of, like, glares at you, but doesn't say anything. But
at some point, I'm going to try it again.
I mean, I figured. Faustus, you're the closest to him, so he's like, if I can talk to your captain, I'll let this slide.
And I say, well, look who's inside again. I'm going to try and slide the knife over to the hole that Renori blasted in it, and I'm just going to try and pop it into him. We're going to go for another roll. I'm going to use the golden die this time. We'll see if that brings me some luck.
All right.
Jesus Christ. No, it doesn't.
You're singing your little tune, and you drag the blade.
I'm literally just like, Faustus is kind of just like, has his head cocked, like his tongue sticking out, and he's sliding the tip of the dagger along the breastplate, trying to find a crack or a hole where he can get in. And he just looks frustrated, and he just says, "You are tough not to crack."
In that same rough common, he's like, "Thanks, that's how my mom raised me."
Rolled a damn 2.
Oh my god. That's really embarrassing in close quarters.
Very embarrassing.
He sort of tears his gaze off of you, Faustus, and Renori, he looks at you, and he goes, "He has something that's mine. Just tell him to come out and give it to me, and this can all be over."
Yeah.
Who said it was yours?
Once again, no one is speaking to you.
Seeing that this approach is not particularly working, I'd like to use the flavor of saying you're a tough nut to crack to cast Tasha's Hideous Laughter.
Oh my god. Okay.
Which is a wisdom save.
He's not good at that. Renori, did you have a response before this happens?
No, I was just gonna ask GM before Faustus goes ballistic. Do I see Casper anywhere?
Yeah.
In my field of vision?
You see, so you've got, like we said, you've got
what do back. My elf eyes see?
You've got your back to the deck, and sort of, like, up this way, you do see Casper, like, he's got his feet, like, balanced on some crates that have slid down the deck, and it's not that he's watching this happen, he appears to have his eyes locked on the situation with Faustus and this captain.
Can I, like, assume that he's hearing what is being said?
You can't tell if he can hear it, but he is staring in that direction.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do before Faustus does his little thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna turn in the direction of Casper, and I'm not gonna call him Captain. I'm just gonna be like, "Hey, do you know where our captain is? This guy's wanting to speak to him."
He's strong.
Casper looks at you, and he sort of, and he rolls his eyes, and he calls out, so it's not that you don't get to do your hideous laughter, we're just gonna put it on pause.
Totally fine.
I
was doing a lot of actions back to back anyways.
There's a lot happening. He calls out to this hobgoblin captain. He goes, "Targ, I have your shit." And he pulls out he has like a little satchel at his hip, and he pulls out from it the horrible fruit bowl that was in his room. And he holds it up in the air, and he makes sure that it's, like, very visible, and he waves it around. And then he puts it on his head. And he goes,
Nice.
Though I think it looks better on me. And Faustus, you're able to see the hobgoblin's captain twitch. Like, he's kind of like twitching in rage. And if you would like to still cast your hideous laughter, you may, but I will leave it up to you as a decision.
Just quickly, I'm gonna be
I
like,
would.
I agree.
Now that I know
Beauty.
his dumb name, I'm gonna say something different to cash Toxicity's laughter. So Faustus literally pulls a feather out of his pocket and he puts it up under the hobgoblin's nose and starts wiggling. He's still got the dagger like pointed at him, and he just says, "Targ me hearties, yo ho," and casts Tasha's hideous laughter. I feel like it's not Tasha's hideous laughter if you don't tell a dumb joke.
That's actually very true.
That is a wisdom saving throw.
All right.
And if he fails, he falls to the ground laughing.
What's your spell DC?
My spell save DC is not great, but it's 13.
Okay. You like wiggle the little feather. And you said his nose, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You do that, and he sort of like, and then he goes like, and he is on the floor in stitches. And you hear another laugh ring out, not necessarily of the hideous variety, but Casper is very amused by this, and he appears to be trying to make his way over to you. But yes, Targ is on the floor. He's still grievously injured.
Okay. Yeah.
But he's incapacitated.
So I'm gonna like walk with Casper and be like, so I agree.
Aww.
Crown looks better on you, Captain Cutie. But second of all, we want to kill this guy because I mean, I've got it in me.
He sort of like gently bumps your shoulder, like hush. But he goes, let me get a look at him. And you two are having a lovely Sunday stroll across the surface of the sea, and you manage to step up onto the deck. And there's sort of water like starting to lap at the top deck and the farthest edges, so you don't have that this is pretty much almost over. And Casper walks up to him and looks down on him, like at him with his hands on his hips, like something funny. And Targ looks up at him, and you can see the rage on his face, but he's just laughing very hard. And Casper sort of pokes him with his boot, and he looks at you, Faustus, and he looks at you, Renori, and Raven. He looks at you as well. You're a little bit farther away, but he looks at you as well. He goes,
"Oh, I want to walk right above him.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna be like
you gotta
middle
give
fingers
up,
up, like as."
Raven joins you, and make sure to give him the fingers, and he does not look happy about it. And Casper, I don't actually know. Let's see how he's feeling today. Let's see. Ooh, okay. He goes, he looks down at this convulsing hobgoblin, and he goes, as much as I don't like him, I like him. He might do better as a prisoner than as a corpse. And he looks at you, Faustus, and he goes, can you, stop? Like, you don't want to
tie him up first?
He does a little nose wrinkle, and he goes, I guess.
Oh. Can I look over at the little goblin that has the chain on her neck? Is there a lock that could be picked on that potentially?
No. It the collar itself is sort of like fused around her neck, and it's got the chain, and the chain itself is broken.
I see.
Yeah, not pleasant. Casper
wanted to take it off her and put it on him.
Like, Raven just looks at her and she's like, I like her whole goth thing. Like with the chain.
She's just wearing a choker. It's a fashion choice.
Yeah. She's an e-girl. We stand.
She manages to like heave just like the quietest of chuckles, but she doesn't have a lot of strength.
Um, I have an idea.
Ooh.
I'll cast Hold Person at second level on our little hobgoblin friend leader
Okay.
man.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's a wisdom save.
Yeah.
Oof. That's not gonna do it. All right. So he is paralyzed. Yes. Yes. You hold person.
Yep, he is whoosh,
He's
all nice and stiff and unable to move.
the laughter sort of
Stick.
no.
Yeah,
N-
no.
No. The laughter sort of dies out as he is just vacuum sealed. And he kind of glares, it casts a sweeping glare at all of you looking down at him. He's like, well, kill me. And Casper, like, looks, actually, you know what Casper's gonna do? Casper's gonna try and loot him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Get looted.
Casper squints down at him and smirks, and he rummages through Targ's various pockets and things, and he produces a small coin purse. Uh, Faustus, in an interesting choice of the century, he hands this to you. He goes, hold this. And he keeps looking, and he doesn't appear to turn anything else up.
I am going to be like, hello, my man. I sunk the fucking ship.
Are you saying this to him, to Casper, or to Faustus?
Yes, I'm saying it to Casper.
He looks at you. He's like, I'm not giving it to him. I just need my hands. It's just
You're not getting that back. That's Faustus.
You say, I sunk the ship, and I'm like, I killed the water hydra. Keeping track.
Faustus, Casper.
Raven, as this is happening, decides to take the crown off of Casper's head and just gives it to Renori as like, just take this.
Oh my god. Okay, so there's a lot happening right now. Casper turns to you, Faustus, and does like one of these, like, share. And as he's doing
I'm not doing anything.
Share. As he's doing
Innocently
that,
holding this bag of coin.
Raven, you're able to swipe the crown and hand it to Renori, and this look of sheer panic crosses Casper's face. Like, absolute terror. And he's like, no! And Renori, he reaches out to get it from you. Can you roll me a sleight of hand, please, to see if you get it out of the way from him?
This isn't gonna go well. Oh, except for when you roll a natural 20, and
Nice.
it's a 20.
The sort of kerfuffle of
yeah.
activity doesn't lend itself to Casper's case, so he reaches out to grab it from you, and you just very delicately. And
when he looks back to Targ, the bag of coin is just floating in the air in my mage hand, and Faustus has both hands with the knife and is on the breastplate, like still trying to scratch through it. It's like scratching the metal against metal, trying to find a way in.
I love this. Okay, you're still trying. You're still going for it.
Just muttering to himself, just like, damn it.
Okay. Alright, so we'll come back to you in a moment. Renori, do you put the crown on or do you hold it?
Put it on.
Alright.
Hell yeah. Make a wisdom saving throw.
That's gonna
Probably.
be a moment. That's gonna be a moment. Can you roll me a wisdom save, please?
Yeah. Yep.
I was joking. What have I done? Speak of the devil and
Did I just
here.
make Renori into evil queen dark elf? Like, what just
21.
happened?
All right.
21.
Righteous.
You feel there's like a sort of cacophony of like whispers that sears into your mind like it's very overwhelming. But you are very familiar with these sorts of things, and you steel your mind against it, and you feel a sort of renewed sense of energy. Not necessarily a pleasant feeling source of energy. It doesn't hurt, but it's not comfortable. You feel like a internal soul disturbance from this thing. But
Eh,
everything sort of
What
leveled
soul?
out. And Casper
okay.
looks at you, and he's still got that look of panic, and he's like, "Can I have that back, please?"
I don't know. I kind of like how it feels.
Oh God. Casper.
Raven also like puts like elbow on Renori's shoulder and like sort of like twirls her hair, Renori's hair in Raven's hand, and she's just like, doesn't she just look so adorable in it? Like teasing Casper.
Vernori, you. So, like, everything leveled out. When Raven starts doing that, you hear these whispers build back up, and you hear, "Kill! Kill!" at Raven's contact. Raven, you don't hear this, but this is in Renori in your mind. It's like, she touches you. Actually, you know what? The perfect example for this, think of if you were familiar with the Miette meme, like Miette the cat.
Yeah.
Is very much like she touched Renori. She touched Renori with her filthy hands. Murder.
Okay.
Um.
I'm gonna take that in and imagine Casper wearing this.
Mhm.
And know that I have touched Casper when he was wearing this. And I'm gonna take it off
Mhm.
and I'm gonna hold it in my hand. I'm gonna look at Casper and I'm gonna be like, I don't think I want you to wear this either.
I don't wear it. Fruit bowl. I please. And
You're not
he's reaching out.
gonna put it back on.
If I must pinky promise you, I will. I have mangoes and apples across my floor. I would like my fruit bowl back.
Pinky promise.
He leads out with the pinky.
I squeeze it like really tight, like my nail digs into him a little bit, and then I hand it back over.
He takes it and he sort of twirls it around his finger and like stops so it slides down his arm, like to kind of hang on his elbow.
Hey.
And it like sort of like an uncomfortable purse. And
We've all had those.
we've all been there. And he goes, you know what? I've changed my mind. Do what you'd like with him. And he looks down at Targ, and he goes,
Stab.
No, let him finish. Let him finish. You will get your moment. I promise. He looks down at Targ, and he like leans down to pat him, like just direct, like palm to face, just like, gonna miss you, old friend. And he starts strolling back towards the ship as Targ curses him in Goblin. And Faustus, that's when your knife finally finds its mark, is among these dying streams of curses. Can you please roll to hit with advantage?
Yes, and he's under hold person, right?
He is.
So if it hits, it's an auto crit. That's a natural 20.
Oh my god. It's cinematic.
So let's do this. So, hold on. That's 4.
I promise it's gonna kill him. I promise
I just like
you.
to roll it because it's a lot.
Like to roll for the gratification.
That's 33 damage.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So he's spouting these dying curses, and actually he starts in common. So you get to hear a very copious amount of very graphic threats of like exactly where Targ would like to No, that's I'm not going to finish that sentence. He wants to kill Casper and he makes it known. And then he switches over to Goblin. And as he's doing that, um Faustus, you get sort of tired.
Finally find the latch.
You get sort of tired of the horrible like scratchy noise that's happening and you readjust the knife and you find. Yeah, I think we're back.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
No.
All right. Thank you guys for patience. I'm so sorry. Wi-Fi as always. This is gonna probably happen once a stream. Just wait for it. I should start disconnect bingo. That might be a thing in the future. Guess when it crashes. Anyway, so Faustus, you kind of get tired of the scratchy noise on the breastplate, and you're sort of reevaluating. You're not gonna go for the giant bullseye that Renorius placed on this man's chest. That's too easy.
That's too easy.
Exactly. So you reevaluate, and you see just the smallest of notches over his stomach. And you kind of like, oh ho. And you align the tip of the knife, and like a lock and a key reuniting, plunge the knife through him. And on this sort of dying string of curses and choking, Targ seizes up, and the last of life drains from him as red bleeds into the water, and the deck finally goes beneath the surface.
But we don't, because we have water walk, so the water just catches us as the deck goes by.
Everything else is going down. Targ does hover on this surface for a little bit, but then his body starts to go under too, weighed down by his armor, his weapon, and death itself. You have officially...
Before he sinks, I want Raven to kick his corpse.
You want to... Wait, what?
Before he sinks, I want Raven to just kick his corpse. Like, away. She's just like...
I can...
Fuck you.
As the god of this land, one of many, I can hereby assure you that Targ's last moment, his last thing that he feels on this plane before he crosses the veil, is the impact of your foot with his shin. And it's somehow worse than the stab wound that took his life.
Faustus just looks up and he's like, nice.
Nice.
So, GM,
Yeah.
what is the state of our ship? What's up with the Seahawk?
So, funny story. The Seahawk is currently, like, rotated 90 degrees. It's still floating. It's not 90 degrees, more like 60. Like, the deck is like, we've got a triangle happening here with the deck at this sort of angle. But it's still upright. And don't worry about that, because Casper's going to take care of it. How? You're about to see. Casper kind of, with that taken care of and Tar going beneath the waves, he sort of spins on his heel and, like, does one of these. He takes the crown off of his arm. Like, he just extends his arm and lets it slide, and once it hits his wrist, like, flicks it up onto, like, into his hand, and he puts it back in the satchel. And he looks at the ship. He's like, that's not good. And he... Renori, Raven... Actually, everybody roll perception for me.
$18.
12.
13.
18. Who had the 18?
Renori.
Renori with the 18, Raven with a 13, and Faustus with a 12. Is that right? Okay.
That's right.
So Faustus and Raven, you see him sort of like very much Wizard of Oz style click his heels together. Renori, you notice him do this, and you're like, huh, cute. But you do see a flare of like just like a puff of teal smoke from the heels as they come into contact. And these, let's establish something because everybody is able to notice this. These are fancy ass boots. Um, but and they have like sort of embellishments in the leather, and they've got like gold accents. Like there's some nice shoes. Renori, you do see some of the leather like design that's sort of pressed into it pulse with that same light as well. Um, but all three of you see the Seahawk as if somebody pushed down the other side right itself. And it's sort of swaying and bobbing in place, but of its own accord, the ship tilts back upright.
Raven just quickly whispers under her breath so that hopefully no one else but Faustus will hear this, but she just goes, "Do not fucking steal those boots."
I love this.
Yeah. Yeah, you just gave him an idea.
Yeah.
You say that and you look over at Faustus, and like the DM described the water with water walkies kind of like a waterbed, and Faustus is like hopping up and down, like
Nice.
testing like a kid, just like hopping up and down, like testing the texture of the water out.
I love this.
He just looks up, huh?
Can
What?
can I
What?
like rewind just a second
What?
and like have gotten back on the Seahawk before it gets righted up because I'm aware that I can't climb.
I'm gonna say no because this is sort of a this is sort of
Okay.
a very fluid series of events. Like you turn with the knowledge of like, oh, I should be on that as it's sort of careening back to upright.
Okay, that's fine.
And Casper's like, come on, we don't have time to lose. And he starts strolling across the surface of the water, back to the ship. And I assume the three of you follow.
Yeah. Yeah, I follow Casper and I say you are extremely overestimating my ability to get back on this ship right now.
He looks over.
And Raven, trailing behind, is like trying to test the limits of water walk. So it's like she's trying to see if it's like an ice surface. So she's like trying to slide across the water, like running and skidding across, but it's just not working.
Nice.
Where's that little chained goblin?
Let's just say she is. We'll say that you have a hold on her because otherwise she would have drowned, and that's not fair to you. So you have a hold on her. Like, you've got her wrist, kind of. Like, you've been bouncing and stuff, and she's kind of bouncing with you. But you have
Yeah, with one hand I'm holding a tiny goblin's hand, the other hand I just have a knife, just dripping blood.
Yeah. You know, wholesome and family friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun
you've
for the
got
whole
her.
family.
So yeah.
Normal Faustus things.
I love Faustus. So Casper Renori, he turns over to like kind of smile at you over his shoulder, and he goes, "I'll help you. Don't worry." And he looks up at because the ship is obviously considerably taller. And let's see if he can. Nice. So Casper kind of like looks at it. He sort of like moves his shoulders, and he's like taking a good stretch, and he does a running leap, and he gets like kind of like his boot jammed in between two planks, and he uses that to sort of roll up onto the deck. And then you see his hand appear like through the railing, and he's reaching it out towards you, Renori. So roll your athletics with advantage, please. And everybody else, you can wait your turn if you want it with advantage, or if you want to climb up by yourself, you may.
Okay, 16.
16? Okay.
Yes, I'll wait.
You're gonna wait.
Bitch.
Faustus, are you gonna wait as well?
Faustus is going to try it on his own and
All
probably
right.
fail.
Let's see how it goes.
An 11.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So Raven, you assess, and you're like, "Oh wait," and you kind of like form a little line behind Renori. Renoi, Casper gets like a strong grip on your forearm and he starts kind of hauling you up. And you, as he gets you sort of off the surface of the sea, you're able to sort of walk up the side of the deck and you're like helping each other. And he pulls you up onto the deck. And then Raven, you see his head kind of pop out from like between the railing again and he sticks his arm out and he's like, come on. Faustus, as Raven is moving towards Casper to be helped up, you decide you're going to do it on your own. And you try to mimic what Casper did. You do your running leap, and you get your foot up, and you try to pull yourself up, and then your foot slips out from under you, and you are now hanging from the deck by your fingertips. Raven, you get to see this happen.
Well,
on the other hand, I have a goblin just hanging from the other hand.
Yep.
Really quickly, like, as Casper and I, like, meet as I'm pulled up, I'm just gonna, like, squeeze his upper arm and be like, thanks, Captain Cutie. And then give him some room to bring Raven up.
He turns a nice pink and he sort of quietly goes, no problem.
Excellent.
Raven, you see him shimmy back and he's blushing. It's very obvious, and he does the same. He helps you up. So can you roll me a athletics check with advantage, please?
Yes. I had a 1 and then a 19.
Wow.
So I'm gonna take the 19.
Yeah.
And as I grab his hand, like, Raven's just like, man, I feel like I have to emotionally prepare myself to hold hands with such a handsome man. And like she like starts to hoist herself up using his like arm.
He like looks down at you and his face grows a more intense shade of pink, now gearing towards red, and he goes, I will drop you, but it has no venom to it. Faustus, you've got a bit of a situation going on over there. You can do a number of things. You can attempt to, actually, go ahead and roll with advantage. I'm not going to tell you why yet. Just roll athletics again with advantage.
Worse. It's much worse. It's a 9.
With advantage?
With advantage, my other roll was a 6.
Oh, all right.
I have a plus 0.
Okay, so you see Chad's face appear over the railing, and he's like, I got you, dude.
Help.
And he sees like what's happening, and he gets 2 hands around your upper arm, and he starts pulling you up. But he does not properly estimate how hard it's going to be to pull up your weight, because he doesn't see the goblin you're holding. And he starts to careen over the side of the railing. But he stops, which means you stop abruptly. And you start getting hoisted back up again. And as you kind of come
train
up,
of hoisting.
Yeah, as you come up over the railing, you see Adrian and... Did we give the other... I don't believe that the dwarf ever got a name. But Adrian, the half-elf, and the young dwarf, that's the 3 of them have always kind of been together, are hoisting Chad backwards. And they all 3 of them manage to pull you onto the deck. So everybody is back onto the Seahawk. And none of you really have... Okay, so Tide's not here, so this is not going to happen for you guys. So you guys are on the Seahawk, and everything's sort of bumpy, considering what just happened. And Casper has already taken off, like one-track mind towards the helm, and the crew is sort of, like, reappearing off of places they've been thrown. You see similar hoisting situations happening at different angles of the ship where people are being pulled back overboard, moving cargo back into place, attending to sails and such like that. And you hear a very loud fuck coming from the helm. And Casper does not look happy and he looks up at the three of you, and he just does a delightful little wave, and then he goes back to being furious. Um, everything
So I'm
starts
gonna
falling into place, though.
do over to Casper. Insatiably curious.
He looks up at you and goes, "Hey."
So I heard that, and you can try to act like you're okay, but what's going on?
Everything's fine, he says through gritted teeth. It's just like a minor inconvenience that's very small and definitely has no effect on anything that I really wanted to do. Everything's great.
Yeah, that's, can I see how genuine he's being about that?
Yeah, go ahead and roll insight.
Excellent. Oh, that's a 24.
Oh god, okay, you read his soul.
Yeah.
You're able to kind of gather from Casper's, like, his facial expression, the way he said that, and you're starting to get used to the general, like, cadence of swagger is not the word I want to use, but that's the word that comes to mind, so we're gonna use it and move on. You've sort of learned how to read him, and he appears to be very upset about something, and whatever it is definitely a big deal, and he doesn't want you to worry about it.
Okay. Hey, so that was bullshit, and if you're trying to calm me down, it's not gonna work, so I'm gonna need you to just spit it out, Captain Cutie.
He sort of, like, steps back from the helm, and he wrings his hands in front of him, and he goes, "Okay. So the good news is that we didn't sink.
Yes.
The not so good news is we are way off course. Severely. And also maybe kind of need repair time. And the bad news is I don't know how to fix the boat, but that's not a big deal. We'll just figure that out. I mean, we can, like, I'll figure it out. It's not, don't worry about it. Everything's fine."
You have an entire crew. Shouldn't one of these chuckleheads know how to fix the boat they're on? Isn't that, like, the point of a crew?
So here's the thing. All of my crew members are pretty great, but they're not all of my crew members because lost about half through various tragedies such as people quitting and people dying and people quitting. So we don't know how to fix it, but we're gonna learn. And as he says that, he looks up across the deck, and you see him like he's looking for somebody, and he goes, "Boomstick, head, come." And Boomstick gives him the finger and walks the other way, and he throws his hands up. He goes, "Chad, please." And Faustus, where Chad is over by you, he's sort of been making sure you're okay. He turns on his heel and he kind of jogs over to where you see Renori and Casper. They're rather loud. You haven't caught most of the conversations, but you can tell Casper's upset about something. And Chad makes his way over, and he goes, "Yeah?" And Casper's like, "I love you so much. You are so valuable to me. How do you feel about being appointed the chief of repairs?" And Chad looks delighted. And he gives there's a hefty salute, and he goes, "Sir, yes, sir." And he turns on his heel, and without any further explanation from Casper, just goes somewhere. And he goes, okay, and he turns to Minori, and he's like, "It'll be taken care of."
Okay.
And then Raven's like, wait, did you just say the ship is damaged?
Huh? No. What? No. What?
No.
No.
No, it's fine.
Everything's
It's
great.
fine, Raven. It's
Mm,
good. Yeah,
Roll insight,
it's good.
Raven.
okay, give me 1 second.
Can I roll
Me
persuasion?
looking
You
for
can
my
roll
die.
persuasion if you'd like. Faustus, would you like to join this, or would you like to do something else?
Roll insight.
Uh, Faustus is gonna stay where he's at, but Lilith is going to perch in the rigging nearby the conversation, and then Faustus is going to listen and look through Lilith as he can with
Okay.
his familiar.
Yeah. So
My
you.
persuasion.
He's watching, but he's pretending to absent-mindedly twiddle a dagger about 30, 40 feet away, but he's paying attention.
You get the full. You get channel. You get HG.
Yeah.
And-
My
yeah.
persuasion was a
1080p?
17.
Okay. Raven.
My insight was only 14.
Okay. So you look between the two of them. They don't sound at all genuine, but there's something about their faces that it's like if something is wrong, nothing about their behavior is cluing you into what or how severe it is.
Hmm. You're lucky you have such an attractive face.
Are you talking
And
to
then
him
she's
or
just
me?
sort of like lets it. Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
Porque no lo estás.
Thanks.
Nice. Okay, so that's yeah. So we are going to do a minor time skip. I know, shocker. So we skip forward about an hour. During this time, Casper has been sort of talking to the various crew members, and people are adjusting sails, fixing the ship back up from this encounter, and getting you going somewhere. None of you are particularly well versed in ships, but nobody seems at all worried, so everything's probably fine. And you're going in directions. You do see at some point. So Faustus, during this sort of hoisting that's happening, the goblin girl is taken away, not necessarily roughly, but sort of taken away by two crew members. And you see them head towards a specific hatch. If you would like to follow up on that, we'll get back to that in a second.
Yeah, Lilith will follow them.
Okay, so
I'll just keep an eye on it.
We'll get over there in a second. Then, you are heading rather quickly in a direction. But like we established, you guys aren't very ship knowledgeable. But things seem to be sort of going back on track. Casper is currently still by the helm. He's taken up steering. He looks very tired. But he's kind of like cozy, keeping the ship going in very steady speed and direction. Renori and Raven, where are you? And I'm so sorry.
Cannot sleep. I cannot dream tonight.
Why are you sorry?
No, just the reference.
Where are you?
Oh.
Where
God,
are you?
You can't do that during a D&D
I
campaign because
know.
immediately I panic.
Shit's fine.
I'm going to have stayed hanging out by the helm
Okay.
because I'm too damn nosy. And at this point, I'm gonna turn to Casper and I'm gonna be like, "Hey, how long do you think you're gonna be up here doing this?"
Okay, so we'll get back to you in a second. Raven, what do you want to do?
I was just wondering if the fiend would try to contact me anytime soon, or like now.
Not right now.
Or if he's just leaving me alone.
Like he's sort of leaving you.
Okay. Then Raven is sort of taking advantage of the downtime to not necessarily heal, but at least like dress her wound so that
All
it's
right.
not infected because she was stabbed in the leg.
Yes.
Um, with that spear from fucking Kelly Clarkson. um,
Oh, I miss Kelly
and
Clarkson every day.
yeah, R.I.P. to a legend. Um, and I she is sort of like sitting cross-legged on the deck, like just like trying to keep an eye on like things that are going on as people are repairing the ship. And also she's like being a little theatrical and extra in like a way that's like very too it's like it's a lot. She's using Mage Hand to keep her grimoire aloft
Mm.
as she's like flipping through the spells that she's collected just to like make sure she's like going through her like inventory being like, okay, what do I have that like will be able to use for a spell, etc. She's just like
Okay.
reacquainting herself like after the battle.
All right. Yeah. So like, kind of taking inventory, taking stock. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then we're gonna go to let's go to Faustus first. So, Lilith is she takes to the skies, and she is sort of tailing behind these two crewmates. They're not necessarily rough as the other goblins had been. Who, by the way, that group of goblins, that was sort of trying to like claw their way up onto the Seahawk, they went down with the ship. I just want to put that to rest. That they, as the Seahawk tilted out of their grasp, some of them went flying way into the distance. Others just with nothing to hold on to and not really, and just the weight of their brethren at the ankles, they all dragged each other down. So it's fine. Lilith is tailing two crew members who are kind of taking the goblin girl down, and they disappear down a hatch towards the front of the ship. And there's some, you can, as Lilith is following them, you see them maneuver so that they can drop her down. And they go down another ladder, so they've passed through like about two cargo holds, and they approach a hatch. And this hatch is a dark brown, and it's got sort of gold inlays on it. And there's a pattern on the hatch that looks somewhat decorative, also in a golden inlay, and there's a golden ring on it. And you see one of the crew members look down at it, and he kind of like sort of steals himself visibly, grabs a hold of the ring, and hoists up this hatch. And they do the same thing. They pass the goblin girl down, except for the second crewmate doesn't go down with them. He starts heading back up. Um, what would you like Lilith to do?
If she can, I'd like her to try to duck through that gap.
Okay, yeah, she's
See
like,
what to continue following them.
yeah,
Little
If she fails, she fails, but she's gonna try.
she'll be able to slip through. She kind of has to like scrunch to get her tail out of the way of the hatch slamming shut, but she's in there, and you see a brig. There's three cells, golden bars. You don't visibly see any locks. There's just the doors where you can see where the doors are for the different cells. The back wall of each cell is the wooden curve of the Seahawk. They're large. You could probably put multiple people in each. And the one of the doors, the kind of crewmate that's sort of dragging her, he's like mumbling under his breath, and he's like kind of hoisting her under one arm, and he swings open one of the doors and gently sort of slides her inside, and then shuts the door. And it closes with a very loud clang. And he turns on his heel, and Faustus, he makes eye contact with you because he makes eye contact with Lilith.
Snap my fingers, Lilith vanishes.
Okay. Poof. And I assume you blink back into yourself.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go. We're gonna bounce over to Renori. You are at the helm with Casper. kind of a tired lad right now, but he is keeping over the ship. And you had asked him how long he's going to be there, and he sort of gives you a dejected shrug. He's like, "Well, we gotta get going at a pace, so probably a while."
Okay. So, if I wanted to feel safe in your presence and meditate for 4 hours, you think you'd be here for 4 hours?
He like smiles. He's like, "Yes."
Okay, so GM, if it's okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go into my trance for 4 hours to get the equivalent of an 8-hour rest, and
That is
you
absolutely
know,
okay.
okay, so I'm just gonna situate myself kind of near Casper, but not in his way.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's any shadow from any kind of pole or mast or anything around, I'm gonna situate myself kind of in the shadow. And then I'm gonna go into my trance to get my equivalent of a long rest and
All right.
not have no more spells left.
Yes, go ahead and record that you've taken a long rest as you recharge your batteries, and you can't see this, but Casper does cast a few fond glances your way every once in a while.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Well,
So some time passes, and the seas are very not calm as you're kind of going at this steady clip, and you all through your varying activities start to notice that you are approaching a landmass. It's pretty clear to see that there's like some sort of cove rising out from the sea, but there's nothing attached to it. It's just what appears to be a cave rising from the tides. Uh, and that's like where you're headed on path. Another smaller time skip. It's been about 2 hours now, so Renora, you're about halfway through your trance. And we're gonna go over to Raven and Faustus if you would like to do anything additional, and then if not, we're just gonna skip to the next thing.
Faustus gives it a little bit of time, lets some time pass, and then he's going to try to sneakily make his way down to the brig and go just try to talk to the goblin.
Okay. Raven, would you like to do anything in particular as well?
I really want Raven to seek out Fishhook.
Okay. So we've got some fun things then. Instead of doing that, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and do that after the break. So, chat,
Okay.
thank you for being patient with internet issues and everything. Please stretch, get a snack, get water, med check. If you haven't taken your meds, take your meds. Please go and give the pals some love. If you can, that would be so cool. Especially Spoopy. He just passed his boards today. So he's out celebrating. So please just go give him some love on Twitter if you can. And we will see you back in a few moments to pick up the story.
What's wrong? Can't you talk? Hey, I don't bite. You and me, we're in a club now.
What that mouth do?
Hello. Sarah, that was perfect timing. I I love this. Every time. Every time. Every single time. Exposed. Oh my god. It's fine.
Ah,
It's
just anxious sweat.
it's so fine. It didn't even happen, actually. Erase the tapes. So
Shoddy, what that thing do?
so we're back, and we have some not mouth related activities. So we have this structure that's sort of on the horizon, like a cave, like sitting, like kind of coming out of the waves, but there's nothing really attached to it. It's just like rock. Um, and this is about like 2 hours from the trance. So we're gonna start with Raven. You wanted to seek out Fishhook.
Yeah.
All right, Renori's like four-dimensionally vibing right now. Um, Raven. So you manage to kind of like you scope out everybody that's sort of on the top deck, and you don't see him. You have two options. There's a hatch at the front of the ship, and there's a hatch at the back of the ship. But you do not see him on the top deck.
Mm. Ooh. Let me. Do I remember roughly from the morning night, where like the area where we were cooking is? That's like down below, right?
Yes.
Where he cooked the meal for her. Okay, so that's where she was first.
Okay, so you remember that that's kind of towards the back of the ship, so you go towards the back hatch, and you can climb down the ladder, and you're in that sort of multi-purpose area where you have to the right the cruise like area where everybody sleeps, and then you have the small kitchen to the left. And sure enough, sitting at the kitchen, the little table, um, actually he's not sitting. He's sort of standing at like the end of it, and he is working like some dough. And he's got like he's pressing his knuckles in and stuff like that. Like he doesn't really appear to have like a rolling pin. He's just kind of pushing it and putting it
Mhm.
together. Um, and he hears you sort of approach, and he looks up at you. He goes, "Hey!" And he's working it. And he's also using the hook as well, but he's being careful not to like use the sharp end and tear it.
She sort of like hesitantly approaches and is like, do you have just anything warm I can eat, perhaps?
Warm. Yes, yes, I can do that. Would you prefer a drink or food?
Oh, a drink. A drink sounds nice.
Okay, I can. Yeah. And he sort of takes his hand, and it's like it probably wouldn't worry you because of the type of person that you are, but the end of that hook is very sharp, and he is very quickly like dusting the flour off of it in strokes that like tell you that he's very practiced, but also oh my god. Um and
He's
he
good with his hook.
God damn it, guys.
Mhm.
And he I can't say no to that. He approaches the little stove, and he fiddles with it. And out of character, this is like it's not a modern stove. It's like a wood stove, right? But it's got knobs on it like you would expect to see on a modern one. I just want it's important to me that you know that. So he's
Mm.
fiddling with it, and you see little flames like jump out from one of the burners, and he rustles in some of the cabinets until he finds a kettle, and he throws it on, and he goes, "Do you have a preference in tea?"
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I can give you one of my favorite blends from childhood. Hold on. And he goes into towards that little door that's at the back of the galley, and he's like just and he disappears into this little thing, and he shuts the door behind him. And you hear some ominous like rustling coming from behind the door, and then he slides out from behind the door, and in his hand he's got a jar, and it's full of different kinds of leaves, and you see some like dried flowers in there as well. um do you want to try and identify them?
Um,
You don't have to, just asking, some people
no,
might too. Okay.
no.
Okay, so you recognize like there's some colorful herbs in there and stuff like that, and he takes his jar over to the stove, and some fiddling later, he hands you a tin, not tin, because that would burn you, like a wooden mug that's full of this wonderful smelling tea. And there's
Hmm.
like a little flower kind of floating on the surface. It's like a little purple flower that's open. Um, and he hands it to you. He says, "Try it."
Raven takes like a small sip. It definitely burns the tip of her tongue, but she doesn't like try. She tries her best not to make that apparent,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then she takes like a small, slow sip of it, and then swallows. Um, and she kind of is just like, thank you, as like the warmth sort of starts to spread over her body. Um,
Nice.
and Yeah, so like she just continues to watch Fishhook for like a couple of seconds of silence as
Mm-hmm.
she's just sort of like blowing at the tea to cool it because she's just like, fuck if I'm going to get burned by this tea again.
Okay, so it tastes. Okay, you didn't have a conventional upbringing. Let's put it like that. Um, but
Mhm.
if childhood nostalgia had a taste, it is in this mug that you are holding. And
Mm.
it's just you feel kind of like, not in an invasive way, because I feel like this could be misinterpreted, is in a calming, consensual way. You feel yourself kind of relaxing and sort of like a lot of the tension you didn't realize you were holding, like in your shoulders and your neck. Also, posture check, everybody. It sort of melts away as you are sipping slowly on this mug. And he, once he sees that you seem satisfied by the tea, he goes back to his bread making, and he appears to be making little rolls. And you see him every once in a while, like he crosses the top with his hook, like to put like a little X on it. Um,
Nice.
and then he sets aside two, and he takes like a little wooden, like a almost like a toothpick, but longer, and he draws out a little like a little parrot, and you recognize the little parrot from the flag that is flying from the crow's nest, and he sets that roll
Mm-hmm.
aside specifically, and he's it's just sort of a companionable quiet. uh
Mm-hmm.
are you just gonna vibe with him?
Um, Raven is going to ask, like, he's clearly making bread, but she's just gonna be like, so what are you doing right now?
He looks up at you and it's like, just getting a start on dinner.
Mm. Um, how you like cooking? I'm assuming.
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's just, for me, uh, I guess the best thing I can do for anybody, besides hold the sword, is to make sure that they're fed. And, I mean, kind of, I suppose, silly because nobody really wants to be the cook, but as long as everybody's happy and not hungry, then I'm good.
How long have you been cooking for?
Oh, since I could walk. I mean, don't remember much of childhood, but I remember once I started getting board ships, that was the one thing I could do better than anybody. I mean, and he sort of gestures at the hook. He goes, as equal opportunity as they'd like to make you believe pirates are, it's kind of hard to get work when, but I proved myself in the kitchen, and now it's not a worry anymore because Casper has never been like that.
Raven stays smiling, but there's like a wash of sadness just in
Mm-hmm.
her eyes as she confesses, like, um, I don't know how to cook.
Uh, okay, so you see that same wash of sadness in Fishhook's face, and he goes, not to be forward, but would you like to learn?
Um, Raven, who was hoping that like she could get Fishhook to, I apologize if you can hear the siren.
It's me. I
Um,
could be like that.
uh, yeah. Um, she was hoping that Fishhook would teach her how to cook. So she's just like, so but like she absolutely does not want to show any of this. So she's just like holding her mug, just takes a sip, which does not burn her tongue this time,
Oh.
and she's just like, so because it didn't burn her tongue, she's like a little confident, which is dumb, but that's just what happens, and she is kind of like, yeah, that would be really nice, thank you. And like sets her mug down. It's basically empty,
Mm-hmm.
and she gets to stand next to Fishhook and is kind of like, okay, what am I doing?
Okay, so he is
And I'm
going
hoping to
to.
spend. Like,
You want
yeah.
to spend a lot of time with him, I assume.
Yeah, I like to spend like the rest of the 2 hours just like
Okay.
helping him, learning, etc.
So Fishhook is going to teach you how to make macaroni. But not just any macaroni. His, and I quote, his special recipe that his mother passed down from her mother before her, from her mother before her, from her mother's stepfather before her, and then a few other generations that he doesn't really care about. He says all of that. And he's going to teach you how. So can you go ahead and do a go ahead and do a performance roll for me, and then also do it with advantage. Just do a performance
Oh,
roll with advantage.
a 20.
Nice. Okay, so he's showing you, and you're able to sort of keep up with him because he's showing you and he's very patient, but you get to a point where he's kind of hoping that you're going to keep up with him on your own while he's preparing the rest of it because you have a lot of food to make. And he's sort of taking the brunt of the responsibility, but you're able to keep up very well and keep a positive sort of atmosphere in the kitchen, which is like A
Mm.
plus. And you are vibing along him for the next 2 hours as you put together this amazing pasta spread with the rolls, and you see the little X's carved in them, and then the special ones that he puts aside, he sets them in the oven and all that stuff, all that jazz.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, so we have some bonding. So that's you for the next 2 hours. So we're gonna go over to Faustus. What did you want to do again? Completely forgot.
Faustus wants to make his way through the path that he watched the sailors take. Make him away to the brig, and he would recognizing that, like, technically that goblin is a prisoner, and it might not be smiled upon for him to be talking with a prisoner. He's gonna just kind of go sneakily if he can.
Okay. Go ahead and roll me stealth, please.
Sure. That is a 19.
Okay, so so you managed to approaching the first hatch isn't really that big of a deal. You're pretty nonchalant and nobody really seems to be paying attention to you, so you just kind of like do your little stroll and drop down the first level, and you're in a sort of cargo area, and there's all sorts of crates, chests, nets, all sorts of just stuff, and certain crew members like fiddling with things and taking stuff out, putting stuff down, whatever. You sort of slip and weave between people and like kind of using the flurry of motion to disguise yourself, managed to get down the second hatch, and now you are in a completely empty storeroom. The stuff in here looks considerably more interesting than in the first hold. Can you roll me investigation, please?
Indeed. Let's see. It's going to be... It's a 14 for investigation.
Okay. There's quite a bit of stuff in here. You see a small, like, of all the things, right? Like there's shiny stuff and things like that, and you would expect that to catch your eye, like knowing yourself. But you actually notice a small leather pouch on the ground. It's about the size of the palm of your hand, and there's like little leather cord coming out from it, like where it's tied. So like not small enough to be minuscule, but small enough where you almost didn't see it. And it just sort of calls to you.
Interesting. And he puts his hand out and just beckons it towards himself. The mage hand picks it up.
The mage hand, you kind of grab it by one of the little tassel things, and you bring it towards yourself. It's just a nondescript black pouch.
He sort of looks over his shoulders and then just wants to peek inside and just see what it is.
You see a small animal skull. If you would like to determine what skull it is, you may. But it is a small skull, and within it are two what looks to be rubies set within the eyes. and you feel a memory calls to you. A memory of acquiring your dagger, in fact. Because when
Oh.
you
Oh.
when your hand when you first grabbed your dagger and you felt your hand wrap around the hilt, you felt this surge of sort of like assurance run through it to you, and you feel that again kind of like waft up from this as you gaze upon it, and there's a symbol you don't recognize carved into the forehead of this thing, and you have just acquired um the trinket of oops no wait go back. That is the full technical term for it. The trinket of the oops no wait go back will allow you to consume once per day a bad roll and re-roll it. Anything of your choice. It cannot do damage. It's just anything you would roll with a d20. You can try again once per day.
Nice.
Yes. And you feel that sort of same luckiness come through you. The hatch that you were looking for is in the ground. It's sort of not necessarily in the corner, but definitely up against one of the walls. And you see the gold work up close now. It is shut.
I take a look at it. I want to determine if it is trapped and if it's locked in any way, just to make sure before I open it.
Do investigation.
Alrighty. I summoned the power of the tiny skull that I just found to re-roll. Hell yeah! It went from being a 4 to being a 19.
Nice.
So plus hold on, plus 5. That's 24.
Okay, so you look at the hatch.
It's already doing some good.
You look at the hatch and you just you're like, okay, time to. You saw the other crewmate lift it with no difficulty, so you're like, okay, and you reach out towards it, and you go, well, and you sort of you take it back now, y'all. And that skull, you just feel like not necessarily a verbal calling, but something like sort of nip at your attention, and you turn to it, and you place your 2 fingers gently atop the skull, and the sigil on it pulses green, and with a better set of eyes, you look at it and you recognize that even though you don't recognize the specific design, that gold work on the hatch isn't just a design, it looks to be a glyph of some sort.
Interesting. Do I get the impression that it is not something that I could circumvent, that it's something that is going to need, like, a key? It's not something that can be unlocked independently.
You get the sense, you don't see any, let's put it like that, you don't see any visible locking mechanisms, you just recognize that there's a glyph on the door.
Okay. Can I make an Arcana check to see if I can determine how the glyph functions? Okay, let's do that. Let's look for some better rolls than the last one. Jeez. Arcana 24.
Nice. You have a bit of knowledge under your belt from your schooling, so you look at it. I will say it is not in a language you recognize. It is not your standard glyph, but you do recognize some like just the swoops of it, and from general common sense and context building, that it is probably some sort of protection mechanism. You can't determine what it does necessarily, like in specifics, but you can tell that it is something like akin to a trap. We'll put it like that. If you don't want someone to get in there into something without any sort of repercussions, this is shaped very similarly to glyphs that you know of that function that way. Put it like that.
When Lilith watched the individual that came down here, did I notice anything that they did at this gate, at this particular door, differently than they did at the other hatch?
go ahead and roll me to. We're gonna do a roll to remember. So
Sure.
do roll intelligence for me.
Yeah.
Much less sad than the movie A Walk to Remember.
A 12. A 12.
A 12. You do
On
remember
memory.
that if anything else happened, you don't quite remember it, but you do remember that the crewmate did like a little like a shimmy before he opened the door. But you can't really remember anything else.
Okay. In that case, Faustus will look around the room. He'll look around the room for something that has a good angle on the door, and then he rests his hand on it, and the snake slithers out and wraps itself around nondescriptly and just sits there, just
Okay.
staring at the glyph, and he just leaves Lilith there
All
and
right.
leaves.
Lilith curls around like a small golden urn, and she's vibing. Um, and you
He
leave.
just gives her a little snoot boop, just a
Oh,
boop, and walks away.
nice. Her tongue flicks out. Um, okay, so then Renori, you are still in your trance because it's 4 hours, right? All right, so another time skip. Um, you the remaining 2 hours pass. Raven, you and Fishhook finish dinner prep, and it's an early dinner. It's like maybe 4 o'clock at this point. Um, and you start. He's like, okay, so we're gonna start serving it, and just see who comes down. If you would like to have the honor, and he gestures to the wall. And you had noticed this when you came in at first. There was a bell mounted on the wall, just like a brass bell mounted to a wooden plate. And he just gestures at it. And he goes, "If you would like to do the honors."
There's like a part of Raven's like very inner mind that is just absolutely giddy at the idea of ringing a bell for dinner. But she's just like, yeah, and like grabs it and like shakes the fuck out of the string, just to do the most obnoxious dinner time call bell.
Nice.
And she kind of like just looks satisfied, as like she's done. So
All right.
yes.
So Faustus and Renori, uh, you hear the loudest goddamn bell you have ever heard in your existence. Like, not even just a normal bell. Like, it literally resounds within you. Raven, it's just like a bell, you're just banging the bell around. Faustus and Renori, it's like the heavens are shaking your head like a maraca, and your brain is making the bell noise. And you see some of the other
Spell that
crewmates.
does that.
Yep, you see some of the other crewmates kind of like wince and like hold their heads a little bit and start making their way towards the back hatch to go down. Raven, Fishhook looks at you and he's like, very enthusiastic. Thank you.
It was whatever. Like,
Yeah. That's definitely going to get everyone's attention. If you would like to help me kind of start plating these, and he gestures, he's taken the rolls out of the oven by now. So he kind of gestures that you're set up with pots and stuff like that.
Yeah, because Raven has fire resistance, she just grabs the roll. Her hands are clean, but she like grabs the rolls like straight from the oven and just starts putting them on plates, because it's like normal.
Fish shrieks in alarm.
And she starts like, and she's so like she like is just like, what do you mean? And she's just like, I'm a tiefling. Like it's like obvious, and then she just keeps like but like she didn't stop putting the rolls on the plates.
Okay, you managed to get most of the rolls onto the plates, and then but Fishhook is like he's trying to figure out like how to stop you without being invasive, so he just does a lot of this. He goes, but it's hot. Please don't harm yourself. Okay, fine. You got it done. Never do that again, please. God, I'm gonna be like 85 by the time I finish sailing. Um, and he turns his attention to the pasta and he starts spooning out the pasta, and it's like watching a conductor lead an orchestra. This man is just slinging noodles everywhere, but they're landing on the plates. And there's one of the plates kind of towards the front of the line is the one that has those decorated buns, and he picks up that plate and he sits it at the farthest right hand side of the table, and then he starts dishing out the other ones. And as he does, Raven, you hear a cacophonous thundering of footsteps. Renori and Faustus, do you heed the dinner bell?
Well, first, I'm going to come out of my trance right as the dinner bell is being rung.
Yes.
And I'm gonna look, and is Casper still, like, vibing right next to me?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. So I'm gonna, like, come to a little bit nice and rested, and slowly, like, stand up, dust myself off, and kind of turn to Casper and be like, "Are you gonna go eat?" I'm assuming that's what that was.
Yes. He kind of like, he shrugs. He's like, I don't, should probably just keep us on course. It's fine. I'll eat later. It's not a big deal. You should go eat though.
Do you want me to bring you food?
Oh, no. I'm all right. I'm all right. Just, take care of yourself. Fishhook is going to be very cross with you if you don't eat his first meal that he's able to serve you.
Okay. So I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna heed the dinner bell.
Okay.
But I'm gonna be back with food for Casper.
Okay. So, Faustus, do you heed the dinner bell as well?
Faustus hears the dinner bell, and then hears the boots above him in the next chamber up, and he gives it a beat and waits for the room to clear out.
You hear
And
it,
then he
like,
goes
come
up.
to
So
a stop.
timing wise, he'll probably like walk out of an empty room, like right as Renori is also walking out, just kind of like see her and just be like, "Hello." Just turn and walk towards dinner.
Be like, what have you been up to?
What have you been up to? I look back the direction she came from.
I was resting.
Is that what the kids are calling it now?
Oh my god.
It was quite literally resting.
Insight check.
Oh my god.
Because Faustus doesn't know. That's a 16.
Were you resting?
Yeah, I was resting. I was resting.
He narrows his eyes. All right then. Keep your secrets. Walks away.
Okay, so you guys are heeding the dinner bell after that. That was great. Resting. So Raven, in the kitchen, you hear this, like, the thundering of footsteps, and crewmates start, like, not falling, but falling down the ladder, as they're trying to get to the table. And you see, like, some of them, it seems playful. It's not, like, aggressive, but they're, like, shoving each other, like, no, I want that one. I want that one. Like, get out of my way. And sort of making their way towards plates, and nobody sits down yet. And you see everybody sort of take their Renori and Faustus, you see this happening as well, and there are plates, like, spots open, and there are like 3 spots open next to a plate that's at the far end of the table, that's sort of a little bit more distant from everybody else's. And then there's Tide is there as well. He's on the side closest to the stove, and he's standing there as well, kind of like looking around a little bit bewildered. But there's like been spots left for you at the end of the table, and everybody's sort of standing in front of a plate, but nobody's sat down yet.
Okay. So I'm gonna, like, look at Fishhook and be like, why is nobody sitting?
He he turns and then he scans the table, and you see him narrow his eyes and kind of like the Josh Peck meme, because like Casper,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like just, and he storms towards the ladder, and with great haste climbs up it like he's gone in seconds. Um, and a few moments later, there's a bit of like there's just some hurried cursing and kind of grumbling and some frantic footsteps, and you see Casper being shoved down the ladder by Fishhook, and Fishhook's coming down like after him, and he stumbles a little bit, and he like trying to dust himself off, and Fishhook's like, "Eat." Casper rolls his eyes, and he goes to the end of the table, and he looks at everybody, and he shrugs, and he sits, and everybody else sits.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab a plate of food.
Mm-hmm.
And is there a spot near Casper open?
Yeah, there are 3 spots next to Casper that are open.
Okay, I'm gonna plop down in the one closest to him, so to speak.
Okay.
Or one of the ones close to him.
Raven and Faustus, do you have a preference of who sits next to Renori and who sits next to Tide?
Faustus takes his plate and goes and stands in the corner.
Oh, okay. You get a few weird looks, but nobody says anything.
He's just he just waits.
Say
He's just kind of
something.
watching what everybody's doing.
I'll say something as I notice Faustus do this. Hey, worm boy, why aren't you sitting with your friends?
Worm boy.
He just sort of looks at you and tilts his head and says, "I prefer to always have my back to a wall."
Okay. I just roll my eyes.
Raven, there's a spot next to Renori, and there's a spot next to the spot next to Renori. You may take your pick.
So she just sits next to Renori, and can she see the door or
Yeah.
like the entrance of the hatch from
can.
where she's sitting? Like the direction she's facing?
Yes.
Cool. That would have been really weird if she couldn't. But like she kind of doesn't end up like if there is a conversation, she will not look towards Raven and Casper. She will always just make sure that the entrance of the hatch is within eyesight.
Okay. All right. So,
Just
okay. So then dinner.
glowing pride inside, like glowing pride of like the fact that she helped make this.
That's so wholesome. I love that. Okay. So, dinner. It's great. This is a very good meal. Raven, it is especially delicious for you because you know you helped make it. It's essentially mac and cheese, but with like kind of bigger noodles and then some fresh baked bread. So everybody gets like 2 rolls and then a heaping of mac and cheese out of this giant copper pot that you see still sitting on the stove. And Renori, you see on Casper's plate, everybody else has rolls that have like a little X in it, but you see on Casper's plate, his rolls are decorated.
Okay, I'm gonna like your rolls are
Fancy boy.
those are pretty nifty there, Captain Cutie.
He picks it up and he kind of inspects it. He huffs a little bit. And he goes, Fishhook's a bit of a mother." And as he says that, something hits him in the back of the head, and he sort of like straightens up and he looks over his shoulder, and Fishhook is glaring at him disapprovingly. He sort of like just like, "I made those for you, and I expect you to eat them." And Casper takes a very large bite of his roll and gives Fishhook a thumbs up.
I'm gonna reach over and pluck one of them off of Casper's plate.
Okay.
One of the fancy rolls.
He looks a little distressed.
I just hold it, and then I see the distress on his face, and I sigh, and I just put it back.
Uh, no,
I'm no Faustus.
you can here, and he switches one of your plain rolls for the fancy one. You can have it.
No, you you were you looked so sad.
You can have it. And he's already taking like a bite of the other one to make sure it's his now.
And oh, I was gonna be if they kept going back and forth. Raven 100% would
You
have
would've
just taken the
taken it.
fancy roll and just.
Okay, so I just take a bite of the fancy roll, and like my eyes light up, and I'm like, this one tastes better.
Aw.
Thank you.
Renori, there is a gentle yet heavy hand on your shoulder, and Fishhook beams at you, and he goes, "I'm glad you enjoyed it."
Your food is delicious, Fishhook.
He does a little like, and he goes, he kind of gestures towards Raven, and he goes, "Well, I had help.
Raven is like, no, 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 no.
I had help."
Like,
Then I didn't take you for the cooking type. Your food is delicious. And like Renori is actually being like, she kind of sounds like an asshole, but this is her actually like being earnest.
I love this.
Raven kind of like hunches more into herself, and like now she like to the point where it's concerning is just shoveling the mac and cheese that is like still steaming into her mouth. She's just like, please let this end.
Well, you're burning your mouth as you go.
If she had any concerns, yeah, if she had any concerns about the tea burning her tongue like this, just like it's like not a fun time. And she's just like,
I can't.
she like makes a noise that's supposed to say thank you, but it's just full of mac and cheese. And she just continuously just like,
Nice. Faustus, you put your hand in your pocket for reasons.
Nice.
Nice.
I take a bite of the delicious fantasy mac and cheese and close my eyes and say, "This is fantastic." And while my eyes are closed, I just quickly pop over to Lilith just to make sure nobody's by the door, just checking in. Just sort of like a security guard, just like scrolling the cameras.
Nice.
Just from time to time, I'll just peek at it. And Faustus, also, when Faustus goes to bed tonight, he will probably sit in his hammock and just stare at the glyph for like a long ass time,
Nice.
just trying to puzzle it out. But yeah, so he just like checks in on it from time to time.
Okay, yeah, when you check the camera during dinner, you don't see anything. The room is still empty.
Didn't think so.
Okay, so dinner. Full of warmth, full of joy. There's a lot of laughing at some point. Somebody starts up like a song, a la, how many bottles are on the wall? I don't remember how that one goes. 99 bottles of da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I don't want to get DMCA, da-da-da-da-da-da, that one. The whole, everybody
I
joins
love
in.
the DMCA pirate song.
Yeah, you know the one.
classic.
It'll be my luck that somebody owns that.
Faustus kind of smirks and wiggles his fingers, and music starts playing, but there's no instruments. Minor illusion.
It was like, you what? I forgot that was a thing. Okay, that'll. I was like, tiny violin where? You you start up
The
the
tiniest
tunes.
of violins.
Nice. You start up the tunes. You get a lot of looks of confusion, but
Alexa, play.
everyone's kind of digging it. Yeah. So everyone's kind of digging it. There's singing, there's music, there's just joy and sort of like, considering what you guys just went through today, it's like it didn't. It's not necessarily like it didn't happen. It's just like you came out a little bit closer than you were before. Um, and so you, after dinner, which takes a while, it's about like 3 hours later, because everyone's just talking and vibing and going back for seconds and thirds and fourths. And somehow Fishhook is just not running out of mac and cheese. There's always more mac and cheese. Um, and you just kind of enjoying company, and people start to slowly filter out, go lay down, go back up above deck, whatever. And you are sort of left with Fishhook, a few straggling crew members, Casper, and the three of you.
Raven has been continuously like mage handing, like she does not want to get up because of her leg, but also because she thinks this would be funny.
Yeah.
She's continuously, instead of like asking for seconds or anything, she's just like grabbing
Handfuls of
portions
mac and
of mac and
cheese.
cheese from the pot and
There's always more.
Best use of mage hand
just
ever.
like plopping them.
Just, dude, a scoop just rises into the air.
And there's always more. It doesn't matter how much or how little you take. There's always more.
On that note, because Faustus's mage hand is invisible, you guys, when you watch him eat, he literally just opens his mouth and pieces of food just from the plate into his mouth.
I despise this.
I cannot with this. I can't. Okay.
So with
Wants as she's like part of Raven wants to like test the limits of Mage Hand just to see how much mac and cheese she can lift into the air, but she restrains herself.
Thank you.
But like it's a thought in her mind. It's like, can I carry 10 pounds of mac
Up to 10 pounds of mac and cheese.
You can. Oh God.
If we put our mage hands together, it makes a bigger scoop. We could lift more mac and cheese.
20 pounds?
We could carry 20 pounds of mac and cheese.
I am putting an end to mac and cheese gate. I'm putting an end to pasta gate. I'm putting an end to this. Renori, what would you like to do?
I'm just gonna like turn to Casper and be like, okay, Captain Cutie, so what's next? We've eaten. You weren't going to. You got dragged down here. Time has passed. Now what?
So we're gonna need some repair time. Chad's going to need some learning to repair time. And I just
Okay, so that like triples the time.
Oh no. Nah, he's a capable lad. Not very bright, but very capable.
Chad the capable lad.
Absolutely. And he kind of laughs a little bit. He looks. Chad's one of the people who's still here. Chad is trying very intently. He keeps dropping this one specific noodle. Like he puts his fork in it, then he goes to lift it up, and then it falls off, and he's like, but he can't. He just keeps doing it the same exact way.
I'm not allowed to just Mage Hand the noodle into his mouth.
Sure. After about the 5th time that this happens, Renori, you see the noodle lift off.
Star Wars
his
Episode
plate.
2, The Clone Wars, with the pear.
This is the pear. You see the noodle lift off of his plate and into his mouth, and Chad's eyes light up like he's had an experience, and he looks around and nobody's looking at him, and he just stares at his plate in wonder, and he does the same thing again. And Casper you hear Casper sigh beside you, like loudly, like, ignore him. He's actually capable. I have put us on a course towards, there's a nearby cove, not charted, and it was just one of those, I saw it, so I mean, it can't, it just cover for the night. Hopefully by tomorrow morning with an all-night work, we'll be back out on the seas. The damage isn't so grievous where we need more than that. And then after that, onto your quest, I suppose.
Okay. So what are you doing now? Are you going back up to the helm, or are you gonna sleepy sleep?
Um, he kind of. I am not quite sure. What would you like to do?
What does it matter what I want to do?
He kind of he puts down the last end of one of his rolls and he goes,
The end of a roll.
just the end of it. He goes, I don't. Of course, it matters what you want to do.
Yeah, but that doesn't impact what you want or need to do.
Unless he wants to sleep with you. I don't. Raven didn't say that.
The background music does slowly and subtly change from a jaunty tune to a little bit more of a slow melody.
God.
Oh my god.
Violin, string quartet,
Not mute music.
Um,
and then
All of a sudden-
sort of an odd instrument.
Alright.
A flute comes in. And...
It's
Alright,
like-
Aw man, I thought that you were just playing Careless Whisper.
that's
No,
what I was
you're gonna
thinking.
do. I thought you were gonna do the Titanic song.
It's the Titanic song.
It's the
That's
Titanic,
what I was
okay.
going for. Penny whistle.
All right. Casper kind of you see him turn a little bit pink at the change of the music, but he goes, I don't really know what I'm gonna do. To be honest with you, I don't sleep well these days, so probably will spend a lot of time at the helm. So I'm open to activity suggestions.
Wait a moment. Renori, like, her lavender skin goes like a darker purple, I suppose, just because she feels the energy that Raven is radiating next to her, and she hears the music change, and she damn well knows that it's Faustus because she's very perceptive.
What?
And and in the way that Casper phrased that actually like really frazzles her, because for all of her, you know, gusto, she actually doesn't really have any experience
We know.
for real. And so I just, yeah, Renori just goes, if you're gonna be at the helm, I already got my recovery from the battle, and I don't particularly enjoy being alone despite what it might look like. So
Raven, Raven is sort of just staring at her plate, and like while Renori was speaking, because she feels like this is a private conversation, she sort of like mage hands her dishes into the sink and gets up, and without turning around, she like just backs herself into the same wall that Faustus is standing against.
Faustus looks over at Raven and he's just like, "Want to get some air?
Can we go?
It's a little hot. It's a little hot in here."
Yeah.
Faustus says, "Want to get some air? It's a little hot in here."
I feel like
and then starts to head towards the door.
yeah. I leave with Faustus.
Renori, you see Raven and Faustus make the least graceful exit you have ever seen in your life.
As at least for my part, as I leave, a handful of macaroni and cheese is following behind me. I won't speak for Raven, but I assume a handful of macaroni and cheese is leaving with her as well.
Yes.
You take
We're
your
combined
to-go
mage
hand.
handing.
You take your to-go hand with you.
Thanks for dinner, Fishhook.
Fishhook looks a little disturbed at what's happening, but he goes, "You're welcome." And he also heads up after you. And the last remaining crewmates that were sort of in here have started to make their way towards the I delight in the look of pain on your face, Kristen. They sort of start to trickle off towards the crew quarters. So it's just the two of you in this galley.
Excellent.
And you had said, you don't particularly like being alone, and now that the two of you are alone, Casper Sarah, your face. Casper kind of like scoots a little closer. Just a little. Just a smidge. And
Mm-hmm.
his eyes his eyes are sort of cast down at the table, but he goes, I don't particularly enjoy being alone either. So, and he looks up at you, and there's just this sort of like a soft gaze on his face, and he just looks at you for a little bit, and then he goes, well, ship's not going to steer itself. I mean, it already has been, but I should get back to the helm if you would care to join me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. Cool. Cool. Great. Yes. Cool. And he, as he sort of like gets a right on himself, and he extends a hand towards you, and then you see a look of like panic cross his face, and he sort of freezes in this like, just with his hand out to you, and he's looking at his hand, and he's looking at you, and he's trying to look cool.
Yeah. I'm gonna burst into giggles at this
Hey.
because I cannot handle it. I'm just gonna be like, I'm so sorry. It's not. It's yeah. Let's go. And I like take his hand.
He doesn't seem offended at the laugh. In fact, he brightens when he hears it. And as you take his hand, he sort of gives it a little squeeze, and the two of you head up towards the ladder. We're gonna do a bit of a time skip, but first, Faustus and Raven, where'd y'all go with your mac and cheese?
It's just like the railing on the deck of the ship.
Perfect. I was hoping for this.
Just picking pieces of mac and cheese out of the air.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So we're gonna do a bit of a time skip through the night here. Then, dinner finished up at about 7. So you have the evening. It is dark out. Like by 7 o'clock, it's pretty much dark. The last rays of the sun have disappeared over the horizon, and you see an unfiltered curtain of stars. There are literal galaxies just visible, and you can see the wheels not visibly turning, but you can see it. And you can see these just waves of stars across vast swaths of multicolored light, and the moon hangs in the sky between all of this, and it is just huge, and it's beautiful. And it's a cool night. There's just a faint breeze, and there's nothing but the sky and the faint lapping of the waves against the ship. And Casper goes up to the helm, and Renori, you are with him, and you two kind of fall into quiet conversation, more like small talk, but just hanging out kind of thing. Faustus and Raven, the sky is very visible. And it's just a very peaceful night. And the ship, you don't reach your destination quite during the time you're awake, but the ship does enter the little cove that you had seen on the distance. It's a lot bigger than you thought it was. There's a sort of black, like, porous rock that extends up from the waves and into this huge cave. And there's a sort of natural window on the left wall that curves out, and you can see through it the horizon. And the sound of waves continues in here as well, although a bit echoey. And the ship will come to a halt sometime during your rest, because Renori does not sleep, this evening. And so we'll I guess check in with Renori then.
Okay. So, is Casper still awake and like at the helm?
He is, yeah, and he seems to be
Okay.
in good spirits.
Okay. So, um, going into the cave, or whatever cove, whatever you want to refer
Mm-hmm.
to it to, it's not a pleasant experience for Renori, and actually starts to trigger some feelings about where she's from.
Yeah.
And she starts to panic a little bit, starts to sweat, but tries to keep it to herself. But given that her and Casper had been having, on and off polite conversation, her going dead silent is a pretty significant difference. And so she pulls out like one of her spell books and tries to like engross herself in it. But even like her turning the pages, like her hands are shaking.
Mm.
And so she just kind of like recedes within herself and gets consumed by this panic of this change of environment and this enclosed feeling.
Um, there is a gentle hand on your shoulder. Um,
I jump.
I figured.
Where like Renori jumps at the feeling.
The hand doesn't really move. It's just there, just resting. And you see Casper. He's got his hand on your shoulder, and he he squats from the helm to kind of face you, and the helm doesn't move. Well, actually, it does, but as if he's still touching it. It just steady back and forwards on its own, and he kneels in front of you with the hand on your shoulder. He's like, "Listen, you don't have to talk about it, but I know that jump that you just did. So I'm here, is all I'm saying."
Renori kind of is just like she's staring at the book in her hands, but now also like the fancy boots in her vision.
Nice.
And she's weighing the options in her mind. The gears are turning, and she decides to let just a little bit out because she's curious. It's not something she's done before, and she wonders, will it feel better? So she listens to Casper's words and nods, and then in a very quiet voice just goes, "Where I'm from was underground. My home was an underground town. I've not been in an enclosed space like it since then. At least not an enclosed space created by the earth or land. It brings up unpleasant memories."
He sort of nods, and then he drops from this sort of squat to properly sit crisscross in front of you.
Crisscross applesauce.
He sure does. He sits crisscross applesauce, and he takes the hand from your shoulder to kind of like rest his hands in his lap, and he sort of like you see him like he's weighing a few options, kind of similarly how you just did, but much more open about it. And he goes, "Promise not to tell the others, but I understand. I am like severely claustrophobic for very similar reasons. So I get it.
Hmm.
Do an insight check for me."
Okay. Math is so
an inside.
hard.
So do an inside check. Is that what you said?
No!
Stop it.
Stop it.
18.
On all levels except physical, I'm bonking you on the head. Okay. So in 18, okay, you see him like fiddle with his fingers and you see him take one of his hands and it sort of like drifts up his arm and his thumb kind of rests like near the crook of his elbow and he's sort of like moving his thumb back and forth and you don't it doesn't seem like something he realizes he's doing, but under the motion of the thumb you do see a very jagged scar, much like one like a not necessarily a scrape because a scrape does not imply that it's bad. It's bad. But you as his thumb moves up towards it, you perceive a shift in his demeanor, where he does seem like he shrinks a little bit, and it's not really Casper the captain, but Casper a person.
So I'm gonna like close my book in my lap, and I'm gonna reach out with my hand and like put it over his where he's touching the scar that's near on his elbow, and like just look. I made the mistake of looking at chat in the middle of that.
Never look at chat in an emotional moment.
And I just like look him in the eye like very intensely, and I'm like, this doesn't look like something that you got in a fun way. Definitely not any sirens biting you.
He actually he laughs pretty hard when you say that, and then he realizes how loud he is, and he kind of like covers his mouth a little bit. Because no, definitely not. And he looks down at it, and moment of truth, see if you unlock a bit of backstory. Let's see. Congratulations, you have unlocked a bit of backstory. He sort of looks down at the scar and he looks up at you and you see him have that same moment of weighing decisions and he goes, well, I suppose to put it quickly, as a child, I didn't have the most pleasant upbringing and more often than not, let me rephrase, I got stuck somewhere that I shouldn't have been, somewhere that should have been safe, and it wasn't a good place for a child. And in attempting to escape it, and he holds out his arm to you, and then he holds up his other arm, and you see very similar scars running down the other arm as well, as if something like bore into him and tore. He goes, I got stuck in a small tunnel, way too small for a child, so you can imagine that sort of size, and I got stuck. And got these puppies. And I think they look cool. Definitely a story I could give them, but not as cool as the real thing, I suppose.
Doesn't have to be cool for it to matter.
No, maybe not to you, but to others, yeah.
Something about being a captain and always having to be cool. It's overrated.
He grins, and he sort of hangs his head, and you see the I love looking at chat in the middle of things happening. You see his hair kind of fall on his face a little bit, and he goes, well, overrated, sure, but it's been sort of fun over the years.
I have so many questions about you.
Most people do. And he leans in a little bit, and he goes, just be patient. You might figure them out.
Renori is dark purple.
Yes. This is the ideal scenario.
like dark purple, like uncharted territory.
He does
She
not
has
move
been
backwards.
she's been the one like trying to flirt with him and make him off kilter because that's something she's capable of doing, and usually when she does that it makes the other people pull away. She's never had someone like do this, and so she's just staring and also not moving away. And she goes, okay, I can stick around.
Roll me a perception check.
Jesus, okay.
And
Oh!
we're gonna go check in with the macaroni besties in a second.
That's a 23.
Okay, a number of things happen. A number of things happen. So you stay, and Casper's also very close. You see his eyes sort of flicker down to your lips for a moment. But he doesn't really move. You do see him kind of like scoot minutely closer. And you also notice that the hole has made this like it's been going for like a couple minutes now, but it's been making this sort of ominous like creaking noise, like more than the natural sounds that the ship should be making. To quickly, Faustus and Raven, can you both roll me perception checks, please?
Perception.
Well, look who got a 20 again.
Nice.
I got 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you notice that when you came into this cave, the ship was straight. It's starting to drift.
Now it's gay.
Now it's starting to drift. And it is no longer straight.
All right.
And the sort of the bow of the ship is
Happy
slowly
Pride,
turning
everybody.
towards one of the walls.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride no longer
Love
straight.
wins. The ship is
Wait.
off kilter.
No! Oh no! Casper's too busy looking at Nori's lips. He's gonna crash the damn ship. Faustus, mage hand on the helm, and looks at Raven to do the same to get enough force to get 20 pounds of force to try and turn the wheel.
Like
The macaroni
Raven
macaroni drops to the deck.
Raven panics because she's just like, but the macaroni.
Wait, so like so like simultaneously as all of this happens, like as all of this is happening, like Renori is like she's aware of these other things, but it's not clicking for her like what it means, and so she's like just about to close the distance between them. But
Ship jerks sharply to the right.
Okay, so hold on. So here's what happens. You're about to close the distance, okay? In this quiet moment before the chaos, the as sort of cliche as it is, and you recognize it, that the sort of the light from the moon is kind of beaming through this natural window that's happening in the side of it. Like it just feels ridiculous. And it kind of catches his face, and you see the sort of like depth of his eyes as you're close. And he's got this like silly little smile on his face, and he just keeps looking between your lips and your eyes, and he just seems at peace. And then there is a wet plap. And then the ship jerks sharply. Can you roll me a dexterity saving throw, please?
me?
You.
Wait. Okay. it's because it's +0, so a 15.
15? Okay. Let me see what Casper gets.
Please
Okay.
don't throw our captain off the ship.
So there's a sharp sort of, like, the ship shudders, and then the ship stops. And, I don't know if y'all know this about boats, but they're not supposed to stop like that.
No.
20 pounds of force was perhaps too much. And the ship lurches to the side. Renori, you, like, and you kind of, like, catch yourself. Casper is not so lucky. He falls face first into your chest.
Of course, we've got
That's
to
a
have
nat
the.
1.
Yeah. Oh no!
And as he starts to try and, like, because he realizes what just happened, he tries to push himself, like, up so that he's like, this isn't happening. He's neon red. And he tries to, like, kind of fully scramble backwards, and he hits the deck and starts rolling as the ship starts to right itself, but he is a distance away from you now. Faustus and Raven, you are playing Casper bowling. He's going. Let me see if he... Okay. He gets quite a distance.
Oh!
It's okay.
Wait.
What do you want to do?
I was gonna say, can I cast Hold Person before he rolls and tumbles too far?
You won't need to, don't worry.
Okay.
He starts sliding, and you all feel this, right? So you've kind of moved the ship unnaturally. The ship moves back just as unnaturally, like it tilts up. But y'all didn't do that. And Casper, you see him, like, dig his heels in, and he stands, and the ship sort of rights itself out, and it straightens itself. And he has his hands on his knees. He's like, and Renori, he looks back at you, and he just wheezes, like you could see him, like, frantically gesturing at you, and but no
so
words.
Renori's, like, leaning back because she just had a man fall on her and then roll away, and so she's just frozen, and then she just goes, no, it's okay.
Okay. If it didn't happen. Nothing happened.
I mean, it could have happened.
Raven is like, you saw that too, right? Yes.
We definitely were too busy doing macaroni and cheese. All we know is that suddenly the boat was veering off course. So Faustus is just, like, looking at these two, being like, Casper, do you usually make a habit of crashing the ship into various rocks and walls and...
No.
Raven's
God.
just super distraught over the mac and cheese being wasted.
Raven's mourning the pasta.
Casper, you made me drop my macaroni and cheese to save the ship.
I'm sorry.
I had 10 in a row.
Listen. Okay. And he's kind of, like, got his hands, like, going in all directions. Listen. It happened, and I apologize. It's harder driving with your brain. I think I need some air. And he, like, his voice cracks.
You're on the deck outside.
I'm gonna air. And he, despite being outdoors already, starts, like, scuttling up the ladder to the crow's nest.
Yes.
And you see his feet kind of, like, slide out for him every once in a while, but he's going. And Raven and Faustus, I regret to inform you that at 11:48 p.m. Eastern Time, your mac and cheese has unfortunately left this world. It was a great dish, a dish beloved by all, but unfortunately, the dish is no longer. Um, in the
In
arms
this
of
plane.
the angels.
The thought of Raven dabbing her eyes with a tissue as she mourns over macaroni on the surface of this deck, being like, that's what good pussy sounded like. Just like.
And you know what? I cannot believe this. I wish
Oh,
Casper
funeral
was still on the
attire.
deck. Alright, well, you know what, it'd be like that. Renori, you watch Casper scurry away. So you're left with whatever the hell is going on in Macaroni Corner, the crow's nest, or figuring yourself out.
Jesus.
Macaroni on the deck. That's a huge disappointment.
God.
That's a rip. That's a rip.
No!
I'm getting ripped tonight. R.I.P.
Happy
that
the macaroni. So, Renori really, for sure, absolutely does not want to deal with the macaroni duo, because they have been teasing and trolling her the entire evening from her
Trolling?
perspective.
Wingmanning.
Yeah,
In their
that's
own
not
special way.
this is not quite her perspective, and she feels really unsettled leaving things like that. She's used to losing things, and so she decides, with excellent athletic ability, to start climbing up to the crow's nest because she's so good athletically. It shouldn't be a problem at all.
Roll me athletics, please.
Yeah, I saw that coming. Okay, a 13.
Okay, it's not an easy climb because, ship motion and stuff like that, but you get up.
Yeah, I might scream a few times on the way up. There might be a few, like,
You know the usual.
yeah.
And you manage to clamber up into the crow's nest. Faustus and Raven, Renori is just swiftly pieced out, and Macaroni ain't coming back. So what are y'all doing?
Raven, you probably look over at Faustus at one point, and he's literally just staring off into the distance for a second. He's checking the door again.
Nothing has happened yet. Nothing's happened.
Shakes his head and looks back at you.
She was just like, Raven, like, eyes staring, like, at the macaroni, but also past the macaroni, like this 1,000-yard stare. And she's just like, I caught, like, 10 shots in a row, man. I was on a roll.
Yes, that was a very good. It's a very good streak that you had going.
Yeah. Were they about to kiss? Like, what happened? How did the...
I missed it. I was focused on the macaroni.
So you didn't notice the tension back where we were eating in the first place?
I lean in my... I created the tension.
Raven, like, remembers the minor illusion. She's just like,
Did you hear that? Did you hear the music change?
Nice...
Yes, thank you.
No, yeah, now that you mention it. And then she kind of, like, pays attention to the cave, and she's just like, what's up with this? Like, are we supposed to go in there? What's going on? Are we just sitting here?
So
no, but the captain's in the crow's nest, and I get the sense that if anyone in this group is willing to get up to some mischief, it might be you.
Oh yes, I'm The one with the penchant for mischief. Right.
Can I show you something?
Sure.
Come with me, and I head to the I head to the hatch that I found.
Nice. Okay. Renori, you scramble up into the crow's nest, and Casper has his forearms on like the edge of it, and he's just got his head over it, like he's just troubled. um, you climb up. He doesn't seem to notice you.
Okay, so I go, boo. Like, right in his ear.
Casper he jumps and he yelps, and he falls over the side.
Okay, I cast Featherfall.
Wait,
I cast Featherfall.
Wait, it's fine though. It's fine though. You on instinct, you reach out with Featherfall, and you like. There's a sort of give and take that happens when you cast magic. You feel a spell land, or you feel when it glances off. So you feel it take hold, even though you can't see him, as you scramble to the edge of the crow's nest to look at him. And you see him kind of slow down, and he hits the curve of one of the sails and slides down in it, and he like ends up sitting kind of nestled like between the mast and like the knot of one of the sails, because sails don't really connect fully to the mast, so he's like kind of in its awkward sitting position there, and he looks up at you and he just gives you a thumbs up.
Are you gonna come back up here? She's very distressed, like that was not the plan at all.
He's like, yeah, just hold on. And he you see him do some mental math, like he's looking between the crosses, he's looking up, he's looking at the different masts and things like that, and he how's he gonna do this? Ooh. You see him do like a little shimmy, and he he jumps no, he doesn't. He like walks along the sort of crossbar of this mast to the center of it. And he starts like climbing around to get to the ladder, and he comes up, and he pulls himself back up into the crow's nest, and he looks very frazzled, but he's got this huge smile on his face. He's like, "Well, that was fun. Want to go again?"
Not like that, no.
Oh, okay.
Not that specifically, no.
And he like leans with his back like against the edge of it, and he's got his arms spread out, and he goes, "I'm sorry about the
You don't have to be sorry.
okay.
I'm sorry you rolled away.
Oh my god. Okay. Huh. Okay, so Casper, at that, he pushes kind of like with his back foot, like he pushes off of the edge of the crow's nest, and he walks up to you. How tall are you?
I am 5'7".
Nice. He's a little taller than you. And he
Imagine towering over him. Casper's 5.
That would have been very
5'1".
funny. He walks up to you, and he leans in again, and his eyes go back to your lips, but this time it's very visible. It's not a quick thing. And he goes, "Oh? Did I hear that right?"
Raven Renori's voice gets uncharacteristically high pitched. She's just like, dark purple.
He leans in a little bit closer, and he goes, "Would you mind if I and you are inches apart at this point.
Mm-hmm. I don't mind. but your siren fiance might.
he he laughs. He like throws his head back and he laughs, and he goes, "If she minds, I'd rather deal with her wrath than not taking this opportunity." And Casper leans in and kisses Renori. And we are going to pick up.
Kiss him back, yeah.
We're going to pick up next week.
Yay!
Oh my god. That was a session.
Take your lip bite.
The
Killed
lip
me.
bite.
What a great lip hanger. I mean cliffhanger.
I would just like everyone to know that this party is making an active effort to kill me in the middle of describing things. Because every time I say anything, I make the mistake of looking at you or looking at chat. Which are the worst things to do trying to describe a moment. Thank you guys so much for coming out. As always, thank you to my lovely party.
Thank you so much.
Mwah. Chat, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. Please support the pals. If you liked this episode and you haven't seen the ones before this, what the heck are you doing? Go watch the VODs. They're up on the channel. And meet us back here next time. Probably at 5 p.m. PST, 8 p.m. EST. We pushed back a little bit today. Hopefully Spoopy will be back with us. We'll have the whole gang back together. We'll see where these shenanigans pick up. But just, go give the pals some love. It always helps if you can retweet the Going Live tweets when we post them from our various accounts to help, people find this series. I think a lot of people would really like this. And as always, thank you guys for hanging out, being patient with the tech issues. I'm sure they're will always happen. It's just part of the charm. And we will pick up next week and see where this romance is going. And also, the plot. So have a good night / morning / day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.